start to lose interest in the things that we were interested in before, whether they were hobbies or perhaps doing a certain type of exercise or the job that we do or socializing or whatever it is, the things that made up who we thought we were, we start to lose interest in them, and that just happens naturally. And we also at the same time start to get a depletion of energy, of motivation, of passion, of creative energy, all of this type
Jo,
of
wat dat is.
energy that we used to put towards doing activities and also daydreaming about activities and planning activities and goal setting and fantasizing about the future. We used this particular type of energy that we had to get motivated to do the things that we wanted to do. And we could call this energy personal will or egoic will. It was the will of the illusory separate self. And it was really an energy force that gave you the motivation, it gave you the passion, it even gave you the sense that I even want to do this, the wanting, the desire, and also the energy to actually achieve things, to get things done, to be successful at things, to do difficult things, and even do things that you didn't want to do, perhaps, but it gave you energy in life to get things done. And this starts to deplete as we're going through the spiritual awakening process. And this can be quite surprising and quite a challenging part of awakening, because we are still in the process of awakening, which takes many years to unfold. And we may understand that it's happening for a reason and that it's even a good sign that it's happening, which it is, because it shows that the egoic tendencies that are driving that energy, that personal will, that motivation, are depleting, which means ego is depleting. The egoic tendencies are depleting. So it's a great sign of progress with awakening if this is happening. But it makes it hard to just operate day to day. And we can have fear about, well, how are things going to look if they get any worse, if I have even less energy or even less motivation? How am
I
I
do some
going to
daily
go to work?
quests.
How am I going to participate in family events and all the things that we do in life?
And order some more useless stuff
So
on
it's an
Amazon.
understandable concern. And probably everyone that's been through the awakening path has
I have
had
to check out if my
similar
microphone
thoughts
is
at some
okay.
stage, and particularly in modern awakening, where we're living an ordinary life and going to work and
Testing,
looking
testing,
after children, but
testing.
also going through awakening.
Testing,
It
testing,
can be
testing.
particularly concerning because you're worried about how you'll get everything done that you need to do and how you'll survive and allow your family to thrive as well. So it's certainly understandable that we would be concerned about this part of awakening, but it is actually a very normal part of the awakening process, and it's actually crucial for the doer energy to stop being engaged, and for the identity that makes up the character, the illusory self, for that to stop being fed. So that character, that illusory self that was there, that was who you thought you were, that you were conditioned to believe that you were, that was made up of a whole different range of ideas and memories and concepts and all of these things that you were told and that you've picked up along the way, and also things that you have done and that you do, and that makes up who you think you are. That is illusory. And so for us to see the truth of who we are, we need those things that we're doing that are feeding that false identity, that character story, to be taken away through life, taking it away, or through us losing interest in it, for us to see that we're not that. So it is an extremely important part of awakening in breaking apart the false identity. But it doesn't feel very good, because then we're a bit lost in no man's land. Well, not only do I not know who I am, but I don't know what I like to do, and I don't know what to do with my time, perhaps, or I don't know how to get the energy to do the tasks that I need to do. And so this can go on for a few years, this phase of sort of being in between the old way of doing things and the new way hasn't really come into effect yet. And so we're sort of in the middle, and this can be challenging. And so we have to really try to access the trust and devotion that we have in truth that has grown through the awakening process up to this point, and see that it's not trying to destroy our life. It might feel like that at times, but there's a great purpose to why you're losing interest in things, why you don't have energy for things. There is a divine purpose, and it is intelligent. And it's not just happening to make life difficult. It's happening for a very specific reason. It's happening to let go of identity, to let go of doer energy, so you can start to access being rather than doing, rather than wanting, rather than desire the next thing. And to also help you to see through the illusion, which is being kept in place by you doing all of those different things and believing that you're a person that does those things, that does that job, that is a parent, that enjoys those hobbies, that is a good musician, or whatever the case may be. It's to help you to see that you're not that was just a story. That was the identity that you're trying to break through. But we have to be physically depleted of the things that we used to do, and also along with that goes the energy and the motivation and the passion to even do those things. And so pretty early on in awakening, we can not only lose interest in what we enjoyed doing in the past, but also just have no energy to put onto any other thing. And thank goodness for that, because if we had the energy still there, the egoic will, that personal will to put onto another activity and transfer it to another hobby, another interest, another job, the next thing, then we wouldn't wake up. We wouldn't be letting go of any identity.
Bro,
We
all
would
these
just be
bots, dude. What the fuck?
transferring it to the next thing, to a spiritual seeker identity, or whatever the next identity would be. What we really want is that depletion of that energy. We're wanting it to die out. Really, that's what we're wanting, that energy to really do. It's like a deflated balloon. We're wanting it to completely die out. And so we can encourage this process once we understand that that's actually what we want. It doesn't feel very good, and we can be concerned and have stressful thoughts about how we're going to operate in the world. That's totally understandable. But if we know this is divinely intelligent, it's happening for a reason, I will cope, just like everyone that's been through it before me will find a way to cope, and I'll survive and work my way through it. And the sooner I get through it, the sooner I'll be on the other side, the sooner I'll be operating in a different way. So I can support this process through putting down those things that feed the identity, putting down those hobbies that I do that I know are feeding those egoic tendencies. I can stop applying for promotions. I can stop looking for the next job. I can stop doing the things that are keeping that energy going, and just allow it to deplete as quickly as possible. So that's the sense of control. It's not like a literal control that we have, but that's something where we can place our attention, is to support the process in allowing it to just be done with as quickly as possible, through not feeding those activities and doing those things that keep identity going. So we can do that to help the process just move along more quickly. And it's also helpful to know that there is a way that we operate when we're awake, and this sort of kicks into gear before we even have the permanent awakenings. And we could call it divine will or thy will, but we operate in a way that is quite different energetically. It doesn't have the same life force energy as the egoic drive, that's for certain. It doesn't have the same passion or zest. It is a different feeling, certainly, but there is an energy and a way that we operate in the world when we're awake that is not about what the person wants. It's not about what the illusory self wants. And this divine will is quite different. It sort of does what is best for the whole, but your own personal needs of the human are still met and prioritized for your survival. Obviously, it makes sense. But you are not doing what the separate self wants, because you're not living from that anymore. You know that that's an illusion. So instead, you do what is necessary to survive. So that never drops away. So if you need to make money to survive, for food, for rent, to pay the mortgage, whatever it is, that is never going to change. There will always be that need, and that will never drop away. Any egoic tendency that you had that was a part of that, that gave you energy, would have been stripped away, and you're just left with really the survival need or requirement to work to survive. So that stays there, but it doesn't have the same energy to it as you used to when you were operating from ego. That really gave you an energy to get up out of bed and to do things that were very hard. You're not going to be able to push yourself in the same way. You're not going to have the same energy likely that you had. Ego gives you a lot of energy and able to push your body beyond its means. You're not able to do that when you're operating from divine will. You always do what's best for the body and operate within a range of self-care for the body. So that causes a restriction that you may not have had when you're operating from personal will. And you operate from love. And so that sounds like a sort of lofty statement, but you you do what is best for others, you do things that are caring, you do things that are compassionate. And this is just as you go about your day. This doesn't necessarily mean talking about awakening or anything like that. It's just you're operating from love and what's best for the whole. And so you are naturally compassionate and helpful and of service. That's your operating system. So whether you do that for your family or you do that for the community or in whichever way it appears, it will be different for each person, but you operate from an energy from necessity and survival, and also you have an energy that comes really from just pure love, from unconditional love, and that usually manifests as service to others. So there is a specific energy that comes from that as well. But these energies that we operate from when we're awake are very different from those egoic energies, which were a lot louder, a lot stronger, and perhaps able to get you to do things that were way beyond what you'll be able to do and push yourself to those limits that you could do when you're in ego. When you're awake, it's not going to be the same. It is very different, but you can certainly function and survive quite nicely.
A woman named Natalie who lives in the UK with her family says that lately strange things have been happening in their home. Natalie says that recently they've been doing renovations in their older house, and she believes that all of the activity might have disturbed something in the home. Something dark.
So, hallo ihr Lieben. Ja, wir sind heute hier mit einem neuen Video. Heute wird es, denke ich, ein etwas kürzeres Video. Es geht nämlich ums Kartenmischen und ums Kartenziehen, ja, ob es da bestimmte Methoden gibt, genau, wie man das denn richtig macht, ja. Und da möchte ich direkt vorab sagen, ich finde, beim Kartenmischen und auch Ziehen gibt es kein Falsch, ja. Denn ich bin der Meinung, dass wenn man die Karten mischt, egal wie man sie mischt, dass immer die Karten zu dir kommen, die auch wirklich zu dir sollen, ja, dass du wirklich immer die Antwort bekommst, die jetzt gerade einfach für dich wichtig ist, ja, und darum, wie gesagt, direkt vorab, es gibt da kein Falsch, ne, so, dann möchte ich dann einfach mal zeigen, wie ich das zum Beispiel mache. Es ist natürlich wichtig, dass man sich vorher immer überlegt, wie man die natürlich dann mischen möchte, so dass man beim Mischen selber nicht zu viel nachdenkt, sage ich mal, ja, dass man nicht verkrampft oder dass man ja nicht zu viel nachdenkt halt, ne? Denn dann finde ich, legt man nicht mehr so ja, so mit Gefühl, sondern mit dem Ego, ne? Und das wäre ja dann falsch, ja? So, also, bevor wir jetzt anfangen zu mischen, ist es wichtig, sich dafür zu entscheiden, möchte ich denn meine Karten nur gerade deuten oder auch ungerade, ja? Wenn ich mich dafür entscheide, dass ich die auch ungerade deuten möchte, dann ist es natürlich wichtig, dass die Karten sich beim Mischen auch drehen können, ja? So, dass, genau, sich jede Karte auch einmal drehen konnte, ja? Und da gibt es einmal die Methode, dass man die Karten auf den Tisch tut und einmal komplett dreht, ne? So, dass sich einige Karten halt, wie gesagt, drehen können und dann hat man halt eben auch die umgekehrten Karten. Das ist die eine Methode. Es gibt aber auch Menschen, die mischen dann so, ne? Dass die sich die Karten dann halt selbst so irgendwie drehen. Aber wie gesagt, ich mache das da gar nicht so und ich finde sowieso für Anfänger ist das keine gute Sache, denn man soll ja erstmal die Bedeutung der Karten wissen, ne? Und wenn man wirklich irgendwann sicher ist mit den Karten, dann kann man das natürlich mit den umgekehrten Deutungen machen. Aber für Anfänger, die wirklich, sage ich mal, die Bedeutungen noch gar nicht kennen, ne, ist es natürlich einfacher, erstmal gerade zu deuten, ja? So, dann wie gesagt, ich erzähle euch, wie ich das mache. Bei mir ist es so, ich habe die Frage des Fragestellers im Kopf. Es muss natürlich ruhig sein, ja, also keine Ablenkung. Und dann schließe ich meine Augen. Wie gesagt, ich habe die Frage ja im Kopf und ich mische meine Karten ganz normal, ne? Also entweder so, dass ich sie wirklich reinmische oder halt eben so, ne, hier runterziehe, sage ich mal. Und ich hebe dann ab. Also ich mische so lange, bis ich merke, okay, es ist gut. Ja, also man fühlt wie so eine Vibration, finde ich, in den Händen. Und dann merkt man, gut, jetzt reicht. Es gibt aber auch Kartenleger, die sagen, die Karten werden warm. Es gibt auch Kartenleger, die sagen, ja, man muss 3-mal mischen oder man muss 7-mal mischen. Das ist alles nicht falsch. Wie gesagt, solange du dich mit dieser Methode gut fühlst, ja, und du ein gutes Gefühl beim Mischen hast, ist es in Ordnung, ne? Dann kannst du es ja so machen. So, wie gesagt, ich mische halt so lange, bis ich merke, okay, ich bin fertig. Da ist, wie gesagt, das ist wie so eine leichte Vibration, finde ich. Und ich hebe dann ab, ja? Ich gucke nicht, welche Karte unten ist, aber da gibt es auch nochmal Kartenleger, die schauen, welche Karte liegt denn unten. Wie gesagt, ich mache das aber nicht. Ich hebe ganz normal ab. Drunter und ich habe ja vorher schon entschieden, welches Legemuster ich jetzt anwenden werde. Sagen wir mal, ich möchte ein 9er-Blatt machen, ich habe schon abgehoben, ich nehme einfach die obersten Karten, ja, so. Ich tue mir die allererste Karte dann in die Mitte und dann halt ganz normal, ne? Dann mache ich mir mein 9er Blatt. So, wie gesagt, ne? Ich nehme wirklich die Karten von oben runter. Dann gibt es Kartenleger, also nachdem die fertig gemischt haben, sich die Karten komplett auffächern in der Hand und dann erst rausziehen. Ne? Ist aber auch gut. Das mache ich auch ab und zu. So, dann gibt es natürlich die Methode, dass man sich die Karten auf dem Tisch auffächert und dann zieht, ja, dann die Karten rauszieht. Dann gibt es natürlich auch nochmal Unterschiede. Es gibt Kartenleger, die legen sich die Karten dann, sagen wir mal, so, ja, mit der Rückseite hin und drehen dann. Bei mir ist es so, ich drehe meine Karten immer sofort, denn bei mir ist es so, die erste Karte, die ich fallen sehe, ja, also die da ist, die lenkt so ein bisschen meine Deutung, ja. So, aber wie gesagt, das ist wirklich jedem selbst überlassen, ja, also macht euch da nicht verrückt, denn erst dann wird es schwer, ne? Also erst dann, wenn man sich so viele Fragen stellt, kommen überhaupt Probleme, ja. Also wie gesagt, wenn ihr die Karten in der Hand habt, mischt die einfach so durch, wie ihr wollt, ja. Eine Sache hätte ich jetzt fast vergessen. Es gibt auch Kartenleger, die lassen die Karten springen. Das ist eine super Methode. Ich finde das immer total faszinierend. Bei mir selber klappt das aber nicht. Ich habe es am Anfang mal probiert mit Karten springen lassen. Es hat sich für mich aber nicht stimmig angefühlt und darum mache ich es nicht. Aber die das machen, wie gesagt, finde ich super, ne? Karten springen lassen wäre so ungefähr so, also man mischt ganz normal. Genau, und so, ja, das wäre jetzt die rausgesprungene Karte, ne? Und das macht man natürlich dann auch so lange, bis man, je nachdem, was für ein Legemuster, ne, wenn man jetzt 9 Karten, 9er Blatt haben will oder was auch immer, ne, dass man auch so viele Karten springen lässt. Genau, das gibt es natürlich auch. Aber wie gesagt, da ist es wirklich ganz wichtig, dass ihr einfach ein paar Sachen ausprobiert. Es gibt auch Kartenleger oder allgemein gibt es auch welche, die sagen, man muss mit der linken Hand abheben, weil die linke Hand die intuitivere Seite ist. Und genau, und die mischen dann auch viel mit links, ziehen dann mit links, machen dann alles Mögliche mit links. Bei mir ist es halt wirklich, wie gesagt, nicht der Fall. Aber ich muss auch dazu sagen, als ich mir damals die Karten geholt habe, ich meine, abgesehen davon, dass ich sowieso immer Karten in der Hand hatte und mir nie Gedanken darum gemacht habe, wie man die Karten mischt, aber auch so, als ich mir mein allererstes Kartendeck geholt habe, habe ich nicht überlegt. Also ich habe mir die Karten genommen und habe einfach direkt losgemischt, ohne zu überlegen, gibt es da überhaupt ein Falsch, ja? Und das möchte ich auch euch sagen. Holt euch die Karten, nehmt euch die in die Hand und überlegt gar nicht lange. Guckt, wie eure Hände euch führen, ja, wie ihr mischen wollt. Wichtig ist wirklich nur, dass ihr vorher entscheidet, möchte ich die Karten noch gerade oder auch ungerade deuten. Es ist auch wichtig, dass man eigentlich auch vorentscheidet, ja, möchte ich die von oben runterziehen oder möchte ich die eher auffächern. Diese Sachen solltet ihr schon überlegen, bevor ihr die Karten mischt, ja. Und natürlich auch, was ihr für ein Legemuster habt. Das muss man alles vorher schon entschieden haben. Aber ich finde auch, das ist so eine Sache, die man auch automatisch macht, ja. Und deswegen, wie gesagt, nehmt euch die Karten in die Hand, mischt einfach durch und legt dann, ja. Also überlegt nicht lange, welche Methode denn für euch richtig wäre. Dass man viel ausprobiert, das ist vollkommen normal. Ich habe das auch gemacht, ne? Wie gesagt, ich habe ja das mit den Karten springen lassen, habe ich natürlich probiert. Ich habe auch die Methode mit den umgekehrten Karten probiert, aber auch das hat sich für mich jetzt nicht so stimmig angefühlt und darum mache ich das einfach nur mit den geraden Karten. Aber wie gesagt, ich finde, es gibt da kein Falsch. Daher macht euch nicht verrückt, fangt an zu mischen, überlegt euch nur, welches Legemuster ihr haben wollt. Und wie gesagt, ob ihr die Karten gerade oder ungerade deuten möchtet. Und legt einfach los. Ja? Stellt euch nicht so viele Fragen, macht einfach und ihr werdet sehr schnell merken, was für euch richtig ist. Ja? Ich hoffe, ich konnte euch mit diesem Video helfen. Wenn ihr Fragen habt, sehr gerne unten in die Kommentare. Ja, und über ein Like würde ich mich natürlich freuen. Dann sage ich mal, bis zum nächsten Mal. Ciao!
Limiting beliefs. We love them, don't we? I'm not entitled to rest until I've been productive. Taking a more positive view towards myself would just make me arrogant. If I can't do something without asking for help, I'm incompetent. And if I speak to strangers before they speak to me first, I'm bothering them. You don't need me to remind you it's your limiting beliefs that are holding you back in life. Mentally, spiritually, physically, socially. So within the next few minutes of your time, let's cover the 6 ways you can completely obliterate your limiting beliefs so you can not only improve your life, but flourish. Come on in. Okay, point number 1 is find them. And by the way, these 6 points are based upon the work of the brilliant philosopher at the University of London, Rebecca Roche's work. I've been reading her work recently, and it's been awesome. Hence, we're stood in front of the whiteboard about to dissect it together right now. I've got an itchy nose. But first of all, And as you already know, in order to solve any problem in life, you have to first become aware of what that problem is. And it's exactly the same when defeating your limiting beliefs. In order to defeat them, we have to first become aware of what they are. Now, before we dive deep into the content on the board, which will help us with the practicalities in terms of how to figure out what your limiting beliefs are, let's first of all quickly zoom out to tackle two questions you might have thus far. You might be thinking, look, okay, first of all, why do we have limiting beliefs in the first place? And why isn't the brain continuously thinking beautiful, positive, growth-oriented thoughts? And number two, why doesn't our brain have a direct relationship with truth and reality all of the time? Why does it create these thoughts and beliefs that are so far out of whack with reality it's unreal? Here's my answer based on my experience of life and knowledge thus far. Number one, the reason why we have limiting beliefs is because they're a survival mechanism. Your brain convinces you of these limiting beliefs in order to help you avoid a potentially dangerous future situation. Your brain is on your side. I know it's the familiar culprit of most of the problems we have in life, but it is on your side in terms of the intentions that it has for you. It wants you to survive, and these limiting beliefs are a way of helping you do so, no matter how negative they are, okay? And then number two, the reason it doesn't always have a direct relationship with truth is because the filters that your brain uses to interpret the information from your experiences and knowledge that you absorb throughout life, they're not the best filters. Yeah, they are quick, energy efficient, they're biased towards self-serving interests, and your brain doesn't always have the idea in mind of, oh, I'm going to interpret this situation exactly how it is and not add any of my beliefs onto the fire, okay? Faulty filters, we could call them. But now we've covered that, and hopefully that's illuminated the path we're walking on right now a little bit more. Let's now deep dive into the practicalities in terms of how to uncover what your limiting beliefs are. First of all, you might have an inkling as to what one or two of your limiting beliefs might be right now coming into this video. But if you're unsure, then this is all you need to do in order to find out what your limiting beliefs are. You simply reflect on situations where you feel stuck or as if you're avoiding challenges, okay? And then you highlight your justifications for not overcoming those challenges. Because remember, what we're talking about is the limit. What does it mean to limit something? It means you prevent it from doing something, okay? That's the last part. I need to stop saying okay, okay? Now moving over to this side of the board, these two parts are linked. So a practical way in order to find out your justifications for not overcoming these challenges in your life, here are 3 questions for you to introspect on either right now, you can pause them as we are going through them in the video, and feel free to make notes on your phone or a journal or just think about them, or save these questions to introspect on after this video. They are, what do I feel like I should or shouldn't do? Number 2, in what areas of my life do I feel like my progress is stalled? And finally, what am I putting off even though I want to do it? Now, let's quickly zone in on this final question, because this highlights a peculiar characteristic of limiting beliefs, the double-sided nature of them. At the heart of a limiting belief is an internal conflict between something you want, but then the belief itself. Remember? Really keep the word limit at the forefront of your mind and what it means to limit something, to prevent it from doing something. But the internal conflict, okay, if we take the example of the limiting belief of the one that we covered at the beginning of this video, which was being more positive towards myself would just make me more arrogant. What is the conflict there? Well, the want of this person is they want to have a more positive relationship with themselves. But the limit is, of course, the belief that if they do so, they're going to become more arrogant. You see how there's the want, the desire, and then the belief is the limit. No, don't do that thing, otherwise you're going to become more arrogant. Another quick example of that is the other limiting belief of, if I speak to strangers first, before they speak to me, then I'm going to come across as a nuisance and as if I'm bothering them. Okay, what is the want of this person? Well, it's a social thing, right? They want to be more open and out there to people, make more start more interactions. That's the desire. Oh, I really want this thing. Limiting belief. No, don't do that, because if you do that, you're going to come across as a nuisance to other people. It's your brain helping you prevent or avoid a potentially dangerous future situation. So that is the internal conflict with the limiting belief. Now let's move over to this side of the board. We've just got 2 more things to cover before we move on. If you want some more characteristics of limiting beliefs, then here are 5 sentence starters that highlight how they might manifest in your brain when you're thinking about them. Number 1 is I should. For example, I should always make others feel happy. That's obviously going to limit you socially because it's an impossible ask. Number 2, I must never disagree with this person. I can't do a pull-up. It might be a fixed mindset. That was one of my limiting beliefs 3 years ago. I couldn't do a pull-up. A year later, I could do 20. Jesus, bloody hell. Little flex. Sorry, had to. I have to. I have to give my girlfriend a lift whenever she asks for one. And lastly, I always leave social situations when I feel anxious. Your limiting belief might register as a general rule for your behaviour, which is obviously not serving you and is limiting you. Now, this is all some juicy food for thought, but if you want one final practicality in terms of unearthing your limiting beliefs, then this is what I'm going to suggest. As we go through the final 5 points in terms of how to dismantle your limiting beliefs, you can either keep one in mind if there's one that's really troubling you at the moment, but if you want to go a little bit further in terms of your introspection, then this is my tip. Pause. Think of 3 contexts in your life that are currently important to you. For example, it could be your romantic relationships, it could be your performance at work, it could be your performance in the gym or whatever sport or activity you're doing, whatever contexts are important to you right now, and then just think about one limiting belief for each one of those 3 contexts. Why 1 instead of 10? Well, if you think of 10 for each 3 of those contexts, you're going to come up with 30, and that's going to overwhelm you and start to convince you, oh my God, my mind's a mess, and how am I going to be able to tackle all of these in one go? We're going to start small, and if you want to go further in terms of defeating your limiting beliefs, then we can. But for now, 3 maximum, 1 minimum, as we go through the rest of this video. Okay. Let's move on to point number 2. Now, and by the way, I'm going to leave the segments in this video when I'm rubbing off the whiteboard, as some of you already know we do already, just to give yourself a opportunity to absorb and take a moment. Point number 2 is accept that you view the world through a filter. This is a very quick point, and TLDR, all I need you to do is genuinely accept that we see things through a filter, nothing more. But to explain this a tad further, and to use the work of Immanuel Kant, the big boy philosopher, we've got the big boys in here today, he distinguished between 2 things in our perception of things as humans. One is noumena, so the reality of things in themselves, the reality of this whiteboard, irrespective of how we perceive it as human beings. But then there's also phenomena, which is things as they appear to the observer. Little philosophical hot take, this then created the branch of philosophy known as phenomenology. But back to this point, the main idea here to illustrate how our filtering system works as humans is you watching this video right now and seeing all of these bright lights and me here, fancy flashy images and whatnot. What you're seeing is more so a consequence of your relationship to what you're seeing rather than the reality of those things within themselves. The screen you're watching this through, the whiteboard that you can see here, my clothes, my face. Everything that this is the bottom line, everything we perceive as humans is through a filter of our relationship to this thing. And our brain is always filtering things and information in our awareness based on their utility. If we didn't have that capacity, then everything in our environment would become important and our brain would just be too overwhelmed. There are thousands, literally thousands of things happening all around you right now, but you're focused on this center point in your screen. Why? Because it is efficient for your brain to do so you can lock in and pay attention to one thing and one thing only. Your brain is filtering. So when it comes to the context of beliefs, your beliefs are the filter by which your brain relates to things and perceives them. That's all I need you to accept in this point. Accept that you perceive the world and information through a filter. And the reason why I would like you to accept that is because when you accept it, it then becomes easier to change your filter, which we're going to get into. Point number 3. Point number 3 is slow down and articulate it. Linked to point number 1, but I just wanted to re-emphasize the importance of capturing your limiting beliefs and writing them down, either on paper or typing it on your phone. The reason why is because you don't understand something until you write it down. Most of the time, our limiting beliefs arise in our mind as confusion. They come to us half-formed. So we're going about our daily life and we're feeling heavy, our shoulders are tense, and we're thinking this limiting belief, and we start to feel depressed and anxious, and then we're wondering why. Well, it's because we haven't taken it out of our mind and put it on paper and read it and realised how ridiculous it is. Just to give you 2 examples of this. To demonstrate how to highlight the potential ridiculousness of a limiting belief, we're going to take these 2 quick examples and structure them with what this person wants, the limiting belief in conflict with this one, and then questioning the why behind the limiting belief, the LB. For example, let's imagine this person, let's call her Stephanie, wants to rest and read a novel for 20 minutes a day. But her limiting belief, conflicting with this desire, is resting for 20 minutes is selfish. Okay, Stephanie, let's go one step further now you've written that limiting belief down and simply question why. Well, the reasoning registers as I should be able to work non-stop without resting. Can you see how when it's written on the board, it's almost laughable? Not in a judgmental way, because Stephanie's a fictional character, but I have limiting beliefs exactly like these two. Just writing them on the board or writing them on your piece of paper, 99% of the time you're going to laugh at the limiting belief when you see it in front of you, because you can see how unreasonable that is. In what world would a human being not be able to rest while working 12, 10, 15 hours a day? Second example, let's take Derek, 25-year-old male. His want is to decline an invitation from a friend to go to a barbecue. The limiting belief in conflict with this desire, however, is if I say no to others, they won't like me. Okay, Derek, why? Well, because it's rude to say no. Is it? Think back on other people in your life, Derek, who have said no to you. When they say no to you, do you dislike them? It would be my guess that you probably like them and respect them even more. So this is how you highlight the ridiculousness of a limiting belief. You highlight the limiting belief that is in conflict with a want. When you've highlighted it, you question why. And if you cannot come up with a reasonable explanation as to why you have this limiting belief, drop it. That's it. That is it. Upon that point, with some limiting beliefs, you might simply just fact check it with reality to see the ridiculousness of it. If you imagine, let's say, John, 29-year-old male, his character's coming out of nowhere. Let's say that his desire is to get everything ticked off of his to-do list for the day. And the limiting belief underlying that is, I should be able to wake up and do everything that I want to within a day. Okay, so he's got that limiting belief written down on his piece of paper, but then he fact checks that with reality and realizes he's only got about 8 hours within a day beyond work and all of his other obligations to do things on his to-do list. And if there's 16, 20 things on there, he hasn't got the time within the day to actually fulfill that belief. So that's another way of highlighting the ridiculousness of the limiting belief. You can question why, or just fact check it with reality. Point number 4. Point number 4, 3 more, is try a different filter. Just wanted to check in the video quickly and emphasize the point again of tending carefully to your vulnerabilities. We need some emotional first aid compassion here. Now, I know a lot of the times in videos when I mention something like that, I go to cringe a little bit, but it is important because uncovering your limiting beliefs is difficult. Because doing so, like we said, is going to unearth hot psychological material, maybe bad memories and troubling thoughts and emotions coupled with these beliefs. And these beliefs have probably come from your childhood, so they've been buried for a long time, and now you're unearthing them to change them, of course, and do something very productive, but that doesn't mean it's not difficult to change them. So tend carefully with compassion. Just quickly here, before I give you a practical tip of how to change your filter, the reason why it's hard to change your filter, again, the way you perceive information for another one, is because the brain prefers familiarity, no matter if that familiarity is negative. Adopting a new filter descends the brain into chaos until the brain gets used to that new psychological territory, which is why, unfortunately, the brain will maintain an old negative filter to confirm negative limiting beliefs, rather than embracing the unknown and just changing the filter completely. For example, let's say Derek, no, not Derek, we used him, let's say David, 27-year-old male. Don't know where these characters are coming from. Let's say his old limiting belief that isn't serving him is people don't appreciate my efforts. So he's at work one day and he's trying to adopt the new filter of when I do something good, people do appreciate my efforts. But his boss comes in, gives him a bit of feedback on a project he's just completed and says, oh, David, really well done, I'm really proud of you. He gets that new information, but instead of adopting the unknown new filter of what belief he wants to adopt, his brain passes off the comment of his boss by reconfirming his old belief by saying, she's just saying that, she doesn't actually appreciate what I care or what I've done. That is one way to demonstrate how the brain can prioritize staying in the familiar negative rather than embracing the unknown. It's hard to embrace the unknown, but here is something practical to help you with it. Thank you, Derek. No, not Derek. Got his name wrong again. Thank you, David. Look, to be honest, completely rejecting your limiting beliefs might be too much of a difficult task for you to do right now, especially if this topic is new for you. So instead of completely rejecting them, just contemplate the opposite whenever your limiting beliefs arise. It's very simple to do, and the reason why this works is because by contemplating the opposite belief and questioning, well, what actions would I take if I adopted this belief? How might I think differently, behave differently, and treat others differently? You are rehearsing a new psychological blueprint. Let's make it a woman this time. Let's take Jennifer. I love that name. Let's take Jennifer, a 33-year-old young lady. Her limiting belief is strangers don't like me. Okay, well, don't worry about rejecting that belief then, Jennifer. Belief has arisen. Let's contemplate the opposite. Well, what would your life look like if strangers did like you, and that was your fundamental belief? Well, you'd make more conversations with them. You'd smile more if you believed that strangers like you, and then you'd make more friends. Contemplate the opposite of the limiting belief and rehearse that new psychological blueprint in the context, or in the example of, what was his name? David? Yeah? Struggling with the boss, giving positive feedback. Let's say that limiting belief arose of, oh, no one cares about my work. Okay, David, let's contemplate the opposite. What if it were true that other people did appreciate your work? How would you act towards your boss? Well, you'd be a lot more welcoming to her feedback, meaning she'd probably enjoy the conversation more, resulting in her wanting to give you more positive feedback because it also made her feel good, meaning that you get more positive feedback. How far can you go with that? Contemplate the opposite. And what this means as well, just last comment on this, is instead of completely rejecting your limiting beliefs, you understand that before you contemplate the opposite, the limiting belief has to arise. So it's not a case of you're going to completely get rid of them. They're still going to arise, but the fact that they arise sparks the cue for you to contemplate the opposite. Then you're no longer fighting the limiting belief's existence. Point number 5. Thank you, Jennifer. Point number 5, reject the double standards. This is a quick one, this point, and it's similar to the idea of, you know, when people say, oh, if you wouldn't speak as negatively to others as you do towards yourself in your head, then don't speak to yourself that way. It's a great idea, but it's kind of missing something. It's not as practical as I'd like it to be. So this idea involves the understanding of the beliefs you have towards yourself. You'd never aim them at others. Just think about it. Let's take these 3 beliefs. Let's say your LB is, people only want to be spoken to if they smile at me first. Let's imagine you're at a networking event and there's someone there who you know has that limiting belief. And they're looking at you and they really want to start a conversation with you, but they're waiting until you smile at them first. You'd be like, mate, come over. I'm here to talk to people. Come over here. Another way to highlight the ridiculousness of a limiting belief. Number 2, if I ask my classmate for help, they'll think I'm a nuisance. Again, imagine you're in the class and someone asks you for help. Do you think they're a nuisance? No. In fact, you'd probably be delighted to help them because it strokes your ego, doesn't it? So again, don't inflict that belief on yourself. And finally, I can't rest until I've been productive. Perfect example, my mum. She's probably the most productive person in the world, works 7 days a week. She definitely has this limiting belief, and I do as well. But when I observe her acting this limiting belief, saying,
long hair now, holy fuck.
Today I feel guilty watching the TV, I'm always telling her, look, you've been running around like a headless chicken all day. Have a relax. But yet I can't tell myself the same thing. I definitely can. This video is basically therapy for me. Okay. Point number 6, final point.
This guy is so cool, dude.
Yeah, I like that point. That was good. It's just a bit more practical than the, oh, don't speak to yourself. You wouldn't speak to others how you speak to yourself in your head, so don't do it. No, just, hopefully that was a bit more practical. It definitely helps socially as well. Because if you ever have the limiting belief, which a lot of us do have, of, oh, if I speak to strangers or start small talk, then I'm going to be coming across as bothering or a nuisance to the other person. Just think back to the last time someone sparked up a conversation with you and how you felt. You didn't really care about them, you didn't want to reject them, you probably had a good time. Right. Finally, point number 6, accept you're not a rational robot. Throughout this video, we've taken a very logical approach to defeating your limiting beliefs by highlighting them on a piece of paper or a whiteboard and using that as evidence to highlight the potential ridiculousness of them so we can discard them. But that leaves one part of the puzzle slightly left out, the heart. Your mind can understand something on a very logical level, snap its fingers, and then sink into that understanding. But your heart, which is tied to your emotions, is going to take a while to catch up to that understanding. And the reason why the heart is involved, I'm using that philosophically, by the way, I'm basically talking about emotions. The reason why your emotions and your heart is involved is because limiting beliefs themselves aren't related to facts, of course, they are related to feelings, which means that it's going to take time for you to defeat them, replace them, and overcome them, especially the ones that have been more ingrained over time and have kept you company for a very long period. With some, you might be able to just philosophically understand that they're ridiculous and then discard them, but with others, it's going to take a while. So, be patient with yourself while your heart catches up. If it makes you understand this a little bit better, then Aristotle said that it could take years to practice a new virtue, such as courage or patience. So, you're in it for the long run. Keep going. Final point on that is adopting a new filter or a new belief might include having to learn a new skill, socially, logistically. So that's another reason why it can take a long time. For example, adopting the new belief of strangers like me will require you to settle into conversation and embrace it a little bit more, which means you're going to have to develop your conversational, small talk, and interpersonal skills, which take a while to do. So that's going to accompany your limited or your new belief. So you're going to get a new skill out of it and a brand new filter to interpret reality, which will take time to settle into your mind and your brain. But how long specifically will this all take? Well, here's a way of thinking about it, as proposed by Rebecca. Let's imagine you have a friend who's trying to make changes in his life and drop his old limiting beliefs and adopt new ones, but he's in a toxic relationship where his partner is always having a go at him, saying horrible things like, you're useless, you're worthless, you're not good for anything. How long is it going to take him to change? Very long time. But let's say he ditched that old partner and got into a new relationship with Jessica, who is much more loving, caring, and supportive. How long do you reckon it will take him to make that change? A lot quicker. So imagine how quickly you could make the change if you ditched your toxic relationship with yourself and adopted a much more healthier one. In summary, thank you, Jessica. Number 1, find your limiting beliefs. Number 2, accept you see the world through a filter. 3, slow down and articulate it. 4, try a different filter. 5, reject double standards. Number 6, accept you're not a rational robot. Thank you very much to Rebecca Roche for her continued work on this topic. I'll leave links to her work down below if you want to check her out. And thank you to you for your time and attention. If you enjoyed this video, leave a comment down below of a triage of emojis of a magic wand, a found in, and then the third emoji is your favorite emoji. See you in the next one. Stay disciplined, playful, and dangerous. Adios, muchachos y muchachas.
But we'll just get into it here and kind of just open up about topic in general because we're seeing it happen. It's affecting top down everybody from, basically 12 years old and up. I mean, if you have social media, you're seeing all this stuff happening as a boy and you're getting pushed through the classroom, top down all the way to college. So I'll just start reading here and we'll get into it. It says, have you noticed what's happening to teenage boys these days? How they're drifting rightward politically while their schools push leftward? It's not a coincidence. And it's not because they're naturally conservative or whatever bullshit explanation the media feeds you. They're not moving right. They're moving away from people who've been telling them that they're garbage since kindergarten. Let's get real about what young men are facing today. Modern education system has become a psychological torture chamber for boys. From the moment they enter school, they're told their natural instincts are toxic, their energy is disruptive, their competitiveness is problematic, and their sexuality is predatory. Day after day, year after year, the message hammers home, you suck, all your instincts are bad, girls are amazing, look at you, you're pathetic. Be less masculine, but somehow more attractive. And we wonder why they're checking out, why they're finding refuge in online communities that at least don't treat them like defective girls. And this isn't about politics, it's just about survival. It's not a left versus right issue that the mainstream media is making it out to be, especially with that Netflix show that's called Adolescence that's been gaining a lot of traction and now is being used in classrooms in certain countries. No matter how much the media wants to frame it that way. This is about a generation of boys systemically demoralized by an education system that doesn't understand or value them. The schools aren't pushing boys to the right. They're pushing boys away. And the right just happens to be standing there with open arms saying, we don't think you're inherently evil. When you're drowning and someone throws you a rope, you don't ask about their political affiliation. You grab the damn rope. And this pressure cooker is killing our sons. And the statistics are fucking terrifying if you have the balls to actually look at them. Male suicide rates are skyrocketing. Boys are falling behind in every academic metric. ADHD diagnosis and medication are through the roof. College enrollment gaps widen every single year. But instead of addressing these issues, we double down on the same approach that's causing the damage. More medication, more sitting still, more shaming of masculine traits, more impossible expectations. It's like watching someone slowly drown your son while telling you it's for his own good. And the mixed messages are driving them insane. The real mindfuck that boys deal with today are these. They'll say things like, be vulnerable and show your feelings, but no anger or competitiveness or anything masculine. Girls can do anything boys can do, but boys are inherently problematic. Be confident and take initiative, but never in a way that could make anyone uncomfortable. And your natural energy is a disorder that needs medication. Or traditional masculinity is toxic, but also man up and protect everyone when something goes wrong. Try navigating that contradictory maze when your brain is flooded with hormones and you're still developing your identity. It's psychological gaslighting on an industrial scale. And this is a full-scale assault on masculine values. Let's just call it what it is. It's a systemic dismantling of everything that makes men men. The left has declared war on the very traits that built civilization: strength, courage, stoicism, protection, provision, competition, achievement. These aren't toxic traits. They're the backbone of a functional society, and they're the qualities that push innovation, defend freedom, and build infrastructure. But the current education system treats these traits like a disease to be cured rather than a force to be channeled. And make no mistake, it's not by accident. It's a deliberate attempt to restructure society by breaking down the natural development of men. When boys can't be boys, they don't grow into men who stand up for themselves, their families, or their values. And a generation of medicated, demoralized, and confused males is easier to control than men with a strong sense of identity and purpose. The great replacement theory of masculinity is what I'm calling this. We're witnessing the first generation in history where masculine traits are being systemically phased out through social engineering. Boys are being taught to reject their own nature, to be ashamed of their impulses, and to suppress all their drives. Meanwhile, these same traits are celebrated when exhibited by girls and women. For example, like female ambition, competition, and strength are rightfully applauded in a woman, but male versions of the same qualities are pathologized. The message is clear. Traditional masculinity is being replaced with a new model that serves a specific ideological agenda, and we know exactly what that is. And I have a section here that I titled Taking Back Our Sons' Futures with a few bullet points of what we need. And what we need to do as men who give a damn about the next generation is to, one, call out the indoctrination directly. Stop being polite about what's happening in schools, challenge the curricula that demonize masculinity, and demand balanced perspectives. Two, create alternative spaces for development. Boys need environments where their nature is valued, not suppressed. Build them, support them, and most of all, this is one I hate the most, actually fund them. There's almost no funding in anything boy-related. Three, become the role models they're missing. The system has removed positive male role models from many boys' lives. Be that example, not of toxic behavior, but of strong principled manhood. Four, teach them to recognize the programming. Inoculate your sons against the messaging by helping them identify it. Don't let them internalize the belief that their masculine traits are problematic. And lastly, stand firm against medication as control. Question every ADHD diagnosis. Demand alternatives to pharmaceutical solutions for normal male energy and development. This isn't about politics. It's about preservation of your sons, of masculinity itself, of values that built everything worth defending in our society. The left won't stop their assault on traditional manhood. The education system will continue pushing their agenda, and the media will keep demonizing masculine traits as toxic and outdated. But they can only succeed if we let them. If we stay silent while a generation of boys is taught to hate their own nature, if we stand by while the foundation of strong societies, strong men, is systemically dismantled. Our sons are counting on us to fight back, not just with words, but with action, to create spaces where they can develop naturally without shame, to provide examples of masculinity that isn't apologetic. Because if we don't, we're not just losing our sons to leftist ideology, we're losing the future itself. In the other episode I did, the fully fledged one, I mentioned how a kid, a boy specifically, can grow up and finish all the way K through college without so much as seeing a male teacher / professor. That's what's insane about the system we have today. It's highly likely that at least through K-12, for sure, you can go through an entire up to 12th grade education without a single male teacher in any of your classes. That blows my fucking mind. Now you compound this issue in a broken home, for example, a single mother home where you have no father figure present at all. Then you've never had a father figure present in school. So you don't have the coach that was mentoring you through team sports, that was like building up your confidence. That's gone, right? You don't have the father at home. Hopefully he was a good one. That's gone. You know, you don't where your uncle's at. Probably those are gone. You know, people are basically, your mother could most likely be part of a single mother, or sorry, she could have been raised without any siblings. So you don't even have like an uncle, most likely, in this latest generation. It's just her by herself because she's the product of an only child home also. So it's like, at least before there was some, you know, like a form of a rail against the isolation of young boys from having zero masculine presence in their lives. Like, at least grandpa was there. At least uncle was there. Multiple uncles were there. At least some cousins were. Now it's nothing. Now you could legitimately be raised in a super hyper feminine household on top of a hyper feminized society. And the greatest example you have as a man will probably come from anime or fucking TV or whatever it is that media you consume. And you're like, I'd like to be just like Thor. You watch a Marvel movie and like, that's what a man is. But that's not even a healthy, it's a fucking superhero. You know, like, you have no real masculine examples at home. And that's just one of the many things that I was touching up on. But when I said things like we'll lose our sons or we'll lose the future itself, is because this is only getting worse. And people aren't having the conversation of, look, we tried it your way. Okay. We tried the progressive model. We tried to make the father in the home not as important, and that society should step up and, you know, it takes a village to raise a kid. Well, it turns out the village isn't fucking interested in your kid. Turns out the village is only looking out for themselves. Every person in the village is strung absolutely on their last leg. Money, inflation, housing, groceries, bills, whatever it is. They don't have time for that shit of helping, you know, Miss Karen down the block watch her kid. They're busy going to work, real hardly making money to make ends meet. So we don't have the it takes a village mentality. And then when you place this all on the government, obviously you see what a horrendous job the government does with anything public. All the public money we've given them, all the support they give single mothers, all for naught. Because statistically, the numbers tell you exactly how well they're doing. We have record high divorces, record low marriages, record high single parent homes, record high homelessness, crime, all that shit coming from single parent homes. It's all on the rise due to fathers missing and punishing fathers staying. Okay, this is the conversation I just covered. I think the video I covered today with Andrew from the Crucible, I believe. And he was, he was on the panel. Yeah, he's on the panel, Piers Morgan, talking to a bunch of feminists again. And the one topic that they're all dancing around, and Andrew didn't mention this specifically, but he talks about more from the religiosity sense of it, like we are spiritual beings and, you know, we need to follow, he doesn't explicitly say the Bible, but just, you know, have a moral framework, religiously speaking and all that. But I'm like, all the ails we have in society today stem from fathers no longer being present. Even the religious issue. Because what is the head of the household? What is the one that sets the boundaries? What is the one that says, get everybody ready, Sunday, we're going to church? You know, what does the rest of the house believe? Essentially what the father used to believe. Daddy set the rules. Daddy makes the rules. It's dad's house, you know? And now it's not that. It's nothing anymore. It's just a revolving door of strange men that your mother's dating that come and go and fill you full of trauma from like, oh, this guy was really cool. I took on so strong to him. Oh, he's gone. Oh, here comes another one. Oh, he treated me like shit. He's gone. Oh, this one was super mean to me and was abusing me. Oh, thank God he's gone. Dude, by the time you're a fucking man, you've been through this revolving door of being like loved and abandoned, abused and abandoned. And like, what kind of man do you think that produces in adulthood? Like, what's the starting point for that guy? It's fucking nuts, dude.
I want to jump in on this one too. Hopefully you guys can hear me pretty good.
Yeah, it's coming in perfect.
We can hear you
So
fine.
okay. I grew up in a very broken family, divorced. Basically, my dad was more or less non-existent. So I grew up with my mom and then my stepdad, which they're both decent, but my stepdad was way more feminine. And I can tell you I'm 30 years old, but I don't have the skills that I should have at this age. And I can definitely relate to a lot. It's like, I don't know how to handle a lot of things. And that kind of just sucks when you're 30 years old and you're trying to just navigate life. So yeah, I agree with what Bo says in this whole thing.
How did it manifest specifically in you? Like, for example, when you say, oh, okay. Yeah, you go for, I was going to ask him, hold this question in your head and try to formulate after he goes, how that affected you specifically when you said you struggle with things yourself that you should have known. So kind of, yeah, think about that one. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, I was just going to piggyback off of Michael. Same thing with me. I mean, my father was there, but he might as well not have been. I suspect he wanted that traditional household where the mother did all of the nurturing parental stuff. He's the one that worked. Unfortunately, she was a psychopath, and he, things fell apart, and he got custody of me. I was already having a bunch of issues with everything that happened with the very long, drawn out, violent divorce process. And I don't think he knew what he was doing, really. You know, he wasn't a feminine guy. He was how his father fathered. I don't think he really knew what he was doing. And when it came to trying to be a parent to me and teach me things, teach me how to be a guy, he did it in a very not healthy, very, very dysfunctional, sometimes abusive way. That's how his father did it. His father, actually, out of all the kids, I think my father's the one that got it the worst. And I suspect it's because my father used to be a bit more of a sensitive, artistic guy, and that was looked at as weakness. And so he's the one that got it much worse than the rest of the kids. I'm pretty sure he started seeing the same thing in me, and he didn't like that. Granted, from what I've gathered, he wasn't nearly as bad as his father, but that's a pretty low bar. So that's why I made the comment that I did, where it's like, yeah, the shit in schools are bad. The shit out there in the media is bad. But I feel like another thing we really need to take seriously is, even if the father is present, how are we parenting? How are we teaching? How are we trying to get across a healthy level of masculinity? Because even if you are trying to teach that with the best intentions, but you don't know what you're doing, or the ways you are using it are really fucked up, it's going to do more harm than good. And it's going to leave you even more confused, even more lost. And you're just going to be even more resigned because you're like, I don't know what the fuck to do. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what any of this means. And then you're getting mixed messages from media, from school. You're trying to figure out who you are. You're getting mixed messages, and you're just like, fuck it. I'm completely resigned. You know, my father used one of his favorite tools to use, even if he would admit it or not, was shame. If there's something he didn't like, or if you were leaning in a way that didn't seem, in his view, what is going to be conducive of a proper man, shame it out of you to try and steer you in a different direction, rather than try to find some healthy way to steer the ship. And that just did a hell of a lot more harm than good.
The things that I struggle with in adulthood is just navigating and coming from a feminine upbringing. Like, I started my own business. I got out of the rat race. I got out of that whole situation of slaving away the 9 to 5 or whatever. And I've been doing this for 5 years now. But there came a point now, because of my upbringing, there's next steps of life and there's no answers. There is no mentors. There is nobody to help. My family's very broken, even cousins, aunts, uncles. I don't have anybody to really turn to. And now it brings the question of what is next. And even navigating relationships with females. I don't have any male mentors to even help guide with that too. So everything you have now is based off of a woman. And now what? That's where I kind of struggle with this too, because now you have the schools, and I've watched the schools in my area destroy. Like, I watch these kids come out of here in freaking tails out their ass, and they're just basically looking up to anime characters. Everything's broken. I'd say 80% of the households in my area are single family or broken. And it's like, you want to try to help people, but you don't have answers yourself. Yeah.
I got you.
What are the questions that you have?
The questions that I have just, well, one, I'm still stuck at home, so I'm working on moving out, which now that I have the income and I'm able to obtain that type of wealth, I can do that. Unfortunately, I'd love to move overseas, but I run a metal fabrication business. I'm a welder by trade. So doing that overseas isn't the greatest. So the next step would be moving from that. But just having relationships with people, it's very tough coming from the background of everything feels transactional. And that's how it was growing up in that type of household. Was these people only want to talk to you, they want something to do with you because they just want something from you. There is none of this bonding with another person, like, oh, we have keen interests, we actually like each other. No, it's, I want to talk to you because you have something to offer. So there's that too. Is that, yeah.
I didn't get a question.
Like this. Sorry, go ahead.
I didn't get a question. I mean, you said a lot of things, but I didn't get any substantial question.
I'm apologize ranting. Just navigating life. I got business phone calls now too. I'll circle back to you guys in a second. I gotta take this.
No worries. Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I feel like this also translates into all other types of relationships as well, which is why we're also seeing an issue with men not even really having many or any friends. So it's not just relationships with women. It's not just the dating stuff. I feel like this has a ripple effect into all sorts of other types of intimacy as well, even if it's just simple platonic intimacy between friends. We just don't know how the fuck to do any of it anymore, it seems like, or at least some of the time. That's what it seems like.
Do you feel like awkward bonding or making friends with other guys just in general?
Yeah. Not as much anymore, but definitely even just a handful of years ago. Yeah, for sure. I am aware of some of the reasons why. And again, a lot of it was my fault for the outlook and or mindset that I had. How that mindset was formed may not have necessarily been my fault, but being aware of it and not figuring out how the fuck to deal with it, 100% that's my fault.
Okay. Interesting.
I didn't know how to connect with other guys, even if I really wanted to connect with them. There was a lot of stuff. One of the crutches or one of the excuses I would use is that there was just a big gap between our interests. A lot of guys were watching sports and they had a bunch of players memorized and the stats that this happened this game or whatever, and I didn't give a shit about any of that. So I was already at a huge disadvantage because I couldn't contribute to those types of conversations. And it seemed like those conversations were pretty damn frequent. So it was like I already was kind of handicapped with trying to keep up on that and try to even try to fake it to try to get into those conversations. Eventually, though, I started figuring out ways to find other interests aside from just that. And eventually it got a little easier to maybe not bond, but at least have conversations about other things. And then I started noticing the issue, a different issue, which was I'm now okay or pretty good with making acquaintances, but not friends. I still have a hard time trying to carry things across that barrier to the next step. There's actually a handful of people I can think of right now who have mentioned several times about hanging out, going to grab a beer, whatever. And we've had cool conversations. I just haven't initiated anything further because there's some mental block there. Again, my fault. It should be easy. That's like that feels like it should be one of the easiest things in the world. But for some reason, there's something there that feels
maybe you don't want to bond with them specifically.
No. This happens all the time, and it's with people that I think are cool, people that maybe they're not as cool as some of the others, but they're at the very least it could be a mutually beneficial connection regarding career or
That's networking. That's not making friends.
any type of endeavors.
No. It's a different problem. I think what it actually is, correct me if I'm wrong, but is there a fear within you that if they get to know you too much, they might not accept you? You think if you open up to these people that they might see you differently in a negative way?
I don't know. I won't discount that, but there's my initial reaction would be I don't think so. Given all of the challenges that I do have, I still have an okay amount of self-confidence. At least I have self-confidence that waxes and wanes, and it's not like my self-confidence is always just down in the gutter, there's never any ups. But I don't think if that is an issue, it isn't all the time. I suspect it's something else. I think it might be more of a if I were to try and look at things logically, it probably has something more to do with things being fleeting and impermanent, like all other types of intimacy and connections had been earlier in my life.
That makes perfect sense. If you bond deep enough.
Why?
Yeah.
I think that might be part of it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense also. Yeah. So probably two of the ones that stem the most from people is fear of being seen for who they really are, at least who they think in their head, and fear of losing a connection you build that you then care about, that makes you vulnerable again to being hurt. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. I dated a girl that was like that. She had divorced parents, and as we were getting closer, she was becoming more and more self-sabotaging and told me literally, because I asked her, why the fuck you're being so weird? And she literally told me that, well, her parents got divorced. What chance do we have? If her own parents failed, she's going to fail. So then she started to self-sabotage as she got closer and closer, but had, oodles of self-confidence, was very assured in herself. But then the anxiety started bubbling up from getting too close. And like, oh, this means something now. Now I'm afraid to lose this. And so in order to not go any further, I'm going to distance myself. So yeah, and I could see that same scenario playing out with friends too. So that's why it might be for you more comfortable to keep people at arm's length as like acquaintances that you have that you could call upon if you wanted to do something, but you don't really want to create any emotional bonds with these people in case they abandon you in some way or fashion, the relationship fails or something like that. And then you're feeling that pain maybe from childhood that you felt again, So very interesting. Super interesting. Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Once every 3 to 6 to 12 months, you finally make contact with a mateable species, right? It happens ever so rarely, and you quite literally forget about dating, but finally, a slim chance, a sliver of a chance, a slight, ever so slight opportunity pops up, whether it's through dating apps, whether it's through somebody that you know, a coworker, an old friend, a sliver of an opportunity pops up for you. And you're like, I've been waiting for this for months, if not years. This is my time. I've become so comfortable and accustomed to being alone. I haven't even really thought about this potential chance, meeting this girl. I want to give my best shot and take that with her. It quite literally feels like you can manifest maybe anything else in this reality except for romantic love. And you're not a bad person. In fact, you might be a really good person, an overachiever, somebody that survived a crappy childhood dynamic. You might be one of these people. Heck, you might even found the cure for cancer. And still, it feels like the universe won't give you a romantic relationship. Why, Amanda? Why? Why does it feel like this? Why is it so hard? So what's happening is that you have a starving inner child that's yearning for affection. And that inner child is now that adult man that's sitting here and watching this YouTube video. So when you finally make contact with a mateable species, it's so hard not to jump at that opportunity. It's so hard sometimes not to love bomb your own self. Sort of like putting food in front of a starving child or a starving animal and expecting them not to eat it. Every few months and every few years, when you finally come across a mateable species, you let yourself have a little bit of that hope. You give yourself the green light in your mind. And as soon as you let yourself have that hope for a romantic relationship, for a romantic lover, partner, girlfriend, whatever the case, wife, as soon as you let yourself have this hope, it's almost like the universe burns you. It burns you for even having the hope in the first place.
Yo, Sanefield, what's up, man? She might be talking to me. She is.
What do exactly I mean by this self-love bombing thing?
What's up, man? How
Love
you
bombing,
doing?
the term itself, means when somebody gets into the beginning stages of a relationship and tries.
She's right about the thing, about the starving, and then not being able to control your love bombing, basically, right? But you know, love bombing is not the continuous spamming of love affection. It is when you do it and then suddenly cease to do so. Right? That is the toxic part about it. But yeah, anyways.
Tries to rush things and tries to bombard that person with affection, and then later on withdraws that affection, or usually it's like with manipulative intent or something. In this case, you're sort of like can't help but love bomb yourself because you're so starving for that affection. You're so sick of being alone in the present moment that you're automatically, your mind starts fantasizing about it, starts fantasizing about what the relationship could look like, how conversations could unfold, how intimacy could look like with this person, how vacations and this and that. The mind will just go and create an entire scenario when you're talking to this person that you just met, and you literally can't help it. Like, you've been alone, your mind is automatically, it's like an auto response, you can't shut it off. As you're fantasizing, you're letting yourself for once experience this hope, and then it doesn't work out. It doesn't. And you're not a bad guy. Heck, you're a good guy. And you're probably getting sick and tired of hearing about this. Why? Why is it so hard? Well, let me tell you, as somebody that's been running this YouTube channel for 3 years at this point, 3 to 4 years.
How's it going, man? I feel really good today.
In fact, my glasses, these are Professor Pickup glasses.
For the first time in weeks.
With me for a while. Those videos are no longer
so
on my
nice.
channel, but anyways, I'm
on
really
Temu right now. I'm trying to order a crystal ball.
Go at this YouTube thing for quite a while, and you know, I'm not Miss Curly Fries over here. I also known as what's her actual name?
Is this too loud? Why is Temu so nice?
I don't know. You just pearly things. That's what I'm not just pearly fries.
Who the fuck is
Amazon? You guys understand? I'm not just curly fries. Okay. My content isn't meant to be reactionary.
And I'm gonna get a new deck. Look at this deck.
As soon as you guys get into the video, I want you guys to leave with introspection, with hope, not with this
please,
name
man.
and blame game. That's
For
my
free,
intention
Philly?
for this channel. And hey,
Are you serious? Check this out.
4,000 subscribers. I get a couple hundred views, sometimes a couple thousand, right? And on those days, I feel very grateful and thankful that that many people are tuning in to what I have to say.
Get me this
and
one.
my comment section is
juicy,
crazy,
dude.
absolutely crazy. It's not necessarily positive all the time or whatever the case, but heck, I'm still here doing it. And let me tell you, as somebody that knows the test of patience, the test of time is
I'm gonna get me a kimono as well.
So you're not too old. It's not too late.
It's $5. How can you pass up on it? What the fuck?
But not only that, you know that the universe is going to fundamentally test you. It's going to be doing this to get you out of your shell, to push you out of that comfort zone, but to also shine a light on your past that's still stored within your body, the past in which you forgot already, the past of pain.
And I want like a crystal ball. I'm not sure if I should go for a black one like this.
This is why the universe
or like a clear one. Maybe both.
In order for the universe to bring you love, it must fundamentally show you the opposite. I know this makes no sense. I know this is crappy. I wish it was more logical. I do. I really, really do. I wish it was almost more within the control of yourself. But really at this moment, if you're watching this YouTube video, you're being asked to surrender to the process. You are being asked to keep your faith, your hope, no matter how long it takes. I promise you. Oh, Amanda, giving up is so much easier. Take a time out whenever you
Oh no! Do you think so? I want it just for the art. I love the art. By the way, man, yesterday during the stream, I think in the beginning my microphone was quite nice, and then towards the end it started being like very scratchy. Did you notice anything? Because in the recording it's super scratchy. Is it good now? Like, you should have definitely noticed something during the stream. Was it awful yesterday? You just did not mind? No, man, no, I'm not doing that shit, man. My fucking sound is good. It's good now, right? Can you please tell me if it goes bad again? I need to figure this out. Sound is the most important thing, man. Like, I cannot watch a stream if the sound is like as shit as it was yesterday. That was horrible, man. So I couldn't upload the thing. I don't want to. It's just horrible. It is clipping. Wait, let me see. Testing. It sounds okay. Maybe because I was too close to it or something. I don't know.
You need it. Truthfully do that. But never lose sight of the fact that you are deserving of love. It does not matter if nobody's touched you before, you still deserve love. You're not a gremlin. You're not a freak. You're not a genetic mutation. You're just not. And I know it can feel like that. The universe is testing you to ultimately get you to go through this experience of being alone without the contact
Use
of
letters that are not
species,
G,
so that
D,
you come out on the other side healed and
D,
better than
what?
99% of the men that are walking around right now with girlfriends and are in toxic relationships, okay? I know that you know that guy's in a relationship and he doesn't deserve one. I know you know that guy. Keep your faith. I believe in this channel because I don't want to be like just curly fries. I don't want to be like these other reactionary stupid YouTubers. I want to offer a different perspective because I think in this space, online in particular, you guys may hate what I have to say, but I think it's
I don't know
good.
what you mean with the
Because
use
what
letters and what
What
you mean
else?
with I clip next
Women
time.
are
I'm
hypergamous.
confused.
It's over. You know, go get hit by an ice cream truck. What is that supposed to do for you in your life? And also, I want you to think to a time in which the universe had no hope, and then think to another time.
She was getting annoying.
Stop looking for some big fancy purpose.
Oh yeah, I know about clips. But what were you gonna clip? If my microphone goes bad? Or what you mean?
To heal you, to finally make you mean that you're good enough. When I was my most insecure, that's when I was looking for my purpose the most. I want you to wipe the notion of one big, magical, meaningful purpose in this life out of your head. You've got things that are aligned with you and things that are not aligned with you. That's the goal, to let go of the stuff that's not aligned and to align with the stuff that is aligned. You can't do that when you're so attached to your suffering, when you're so attached and
I'm
addicted
gonna order
to
some
everything
shit
that's
on
not aligned with you.
Temu.
So
It's
most
that
of you
time
are
again.
wondering,
I've
well,
spent,
what's
I
my
don't know,
purpose?
man, hundreds
What's my
of
purpose?
dollars
You're
here
asking
already.
that because you're trying to alleviate the
It's too
suffering in
good.
your life, but you're still addicted to the suffering. So how can you allow in
Sometimes when you
something
say
that's
word, the
aligned,
mic
something
pops.
that's
I see,
meaningful,
I
something
see.
that's fulfilling, when you've trained yourself to be addicted to suffering? There's no space in your energy for it.
Yeah.
It cannot come in.
Oh,
There's
I mean,
no resonance in your field.
I really like myself. If somebody had that kind of quality microphone, I would have to be really invested into the stream, not to just, not watch it. But from a streamer perspective, if you have a good microphone and it sounds shit, you never want it to sound shit. Like, what the fuck, man?
With that. So instead of trying to look for one external magical thing or mission or quest that's finally going to heal you, I'm going to tell you, as I always say, you have to do the inner
What is
work
this?
yourself.
Vampire fangs?
It's not going to just someone's not going to come along and tell you
Vampire
you're a
fangs
perfect
for
snowflake,
$1,
and then if
not
you do
even.
this thing, it's going to heal you and you're going to be good.
I get me
That's
some,
not going
dude.
to happen. You have to go within and heal the internal stuff that's stopping you from feeling good enough as you are. And then you have to teach yourself to let go of all the stuff that you're addicted to that is not serving you, of all your attachments to your beliefs, to your identity, to your habits, to your victim complex, because you're not going to be able to create a meaningful life in that state. And instead of looking for one big purpose that's going to fix you, you should instead be aiming for creating genuine meaning and fulfillment in your life from within, because that's the only place you can do it. You could, on paper, have the wildest successes. You could have millions and millions. You could have a successful business. You could have a typical family unit. But on the inside, if you haven't healed all that stuff internally, if you haven't followed your inner compass as to what's meaningful to you, none of that external stuff is going to matter to you. If you're still walking through life feeling like a victim, feeling not good enough, and feeding into all these things outside you that really don't give you anything back,
I don't see what you're posting,
going to
man.
feel that
It must
fulfillment
have been
and
a
that
link.
sense of purpose. It's not
I
going to
disable
happen.
things.
And the way that this manifests in people's lives, when you don't have, and I don't want to say a purpose, I'm thinking of it more like, and you should think of it like this as well.
Is it a
a
Temu link?
sense of purpose, a sense of meaning from within. Like what you're doing in your life means something to you. You've got your energy, your attention on things that matter to you and things that give energy back to you. That is the goal, not external validation. It's internally validating yourself by deciding that you're going to follow the things that matter to you, no matter what's going on
I gotta
outside.
give you permission to post a link
if
just
you
a sec.
don't create that meaning from within, if you don't come back into alignment with your authentic self and have a little bit of fucking self-esteem and self-compassion and self-awareness, you're going to be running through your life on autopilot. You're going to be anxiously attached. You're going to be looking for meaning in relationships. You're going to be looking for meaning in money. You're going to be looking for meaning on social media. You're going to be so worried about what people think. You're going to need 45 opinions before you can take one step. You're going to be in your head, worried about everyone but yourself. And your life is going to feel like it means nothing until someone comes along and tells you that it does. You are never, ever, ever going to be fulfilled if that's how you're living. And it affects every single area of your life. I used to be so anxiously attached in all my relationships. And I can see now a big reason why that was is because I didn't feel like I had a full, fulfilling, meaningful, purposeful. No space in your energy for it.
Yeah.
It cannot come in.
Oh,
There's
I mean,
no resonance in your field.
I really like myself. If somebody had that kind of quality microphone, I would have to be really invested into the stream, not to just, you know, not watch it. But from a streamer perspective, if you have... Dude, I sound like I'm on drugs. What the fuck? Oh, it's on 05075. I was like, what the fuck? Okay. It sounded okay. But I noticed a little bit of a scratch in there, yeah. I just have the microphone a little bit further away. It should be fine then. It should be good. Yeah.
Life on my own. And when I got into relationships, I could see in my partner the meaning that they were creating for themselves, and I wanted in on that. So I was addicted to them because I wanted that meaning. I wanted something that I thought they had that I couldn't generate for myself. But the truth is, you're the only one who can generate it for yourself. You are the only one who knows your intuition. You are the only one who knows your authenticity. And I know you've probably forgotten it because the world has trained you to forget it and your trauma has taught you to forget it. But you are, at the end of the day, the only one who can tap back into that. You're the only one who can create that meaning in your own life. So I'm going to tell you how to do it in this video. And if you do what I tell you, your whole, every other area of your life is going to change. Like when I started healing from my stuff and I came into alignment with what I actually wanted and I started creating genuine fulfillment in my own life, the type of partner I attracted was completely different. It was secure. There's no anxiousness, no anxious attachment. That disappeared because we both have full, meaningful, purposeful lives on our own. And then when we come together,
also never
it's
gonna
just a
have
beautiful dynamic, but there's no
a relationship with anybody
for anything because we've both generated that individually for ourselves. And that is how you need to be. You're not going to find the answers outside you. I'm just going to say that one more time. You're not going to find them outside you. So you sitting there in victim mode saying, well, this is the problem, or this is the problem, or this person had it easier. You've got to drop that right fucking now, because you're never going to be able to find the answers within yourself if you keep putting your power in other people's hands, if you keep blaming your past, if you keep blaming other people for you not being able to live your own life to the fullest. It's in your hands. You have full power and control over it. You're the only one who can do it. And you've got to make a conscious decision to become stronger than these old stories, these wounds of the past, these traumas, if you want to actually access fulfillment in your life. It's not some big magical thing that's just going to come and you're going to go, oh my God, amazing, thank you so much. It's not going to come and save you. You have to save yourself. You have to start letting go. You have to start believing in yourself.
Well, now I have to get it.
Stop blaming everything outside you for your problems. You need to take radical accountability for where you are right now. And you need to take full responsibility for the fact that your life is in your hands. So the reason I'm starting off by speaking about victim mode is because
if anything
saying,
stupid
oh,
happens,
I can't
just
find my purpose, I don't know what I want, you're already disempowering yourself by saying that. Because actually, when I speak to some of you, you start by saying, I don't know what I want. I have no idea what I want. And then by the end of the conversation, you've already told me 5 things that you want. So the issue is actually not that you don't know what you want, it's that you don't feel empowered enough to even see that you could go for these things that you do want deep down. You don't even feel empowered enough to state, this is what I want. It puts you in a state of powerlessness to say, I don't know what I want, I don't know what I want. It keeps you in your comfort zone to say that. It keeps you in the comfort of your old identity, of your old habits, of your old life, to keep saying that you don't know what you want. So some of you, maybe you don't know what you want in your career. Maybe that's what you're trying to find meaning in. But you know you want to move country, and you've wanted that for 6 years. You do know what you want. You just don't want to admit that because it's going to force you to take some accountability and change your habits and change your identity and get outside your comfort zone of who you are and what you think you can have and do. So that's actually the issue. The issue is not that you don't know what you want. The issue is that you're standing in your own way. Your addiction to your old identity, to your old way of being, to your comfort, to your suffering is in the way.
I was just thinking about it today. It's going to be 2 to 4 years.
This is what I want. Because as soon
at
as
least
you say
2 years
that, you have to go for it. You have to start thinking and admitting
it's going to be time
that you're in the way, that you're the only thing blocking it. Whereas if you don't know, then it's fine because you're still figuring it out. Oh my God, do not get stuck in figuring it out. You're going to spend your whole life
that are happening
figuring it out. You're going to be 85 years old and you're going to be like, I didn't need to fucking figure it out. I actually knew the whole time. Why did I spend my whole life figuring it out? Now it's over and I wasted all that time figuring it out when actually I had it figured out. I was just too scared to do it. And that is the truth for most of you. You already know deep down, whether you consciously know or unconsciously know or kind of know or just don't want to admit it, you do know on whatever level. So maybe it is completely unconscious. Some of you have an idea already. You don't want to admit it for the reasons I just stated. Some of you know and are too scared. But you have to just start realizing that you're going to die. And when you get to the end, you're going to be thinking, well, shit, there were these things that I wanted to do, but I didn't do them because I just thought they'd be too scary or they'd be too uncomfortable or it would just take too much time or whatever limiting stupid belief you're telling yourself in the back of your mind right now. So the biggest thing that's blocking you is your identity, your beliefs around who you are and what you think you can be and have in this life. That is not set in stone. You aren't just carved from a piece of rock and set the way that you are. The beauty of being a human being is that you can shapeshift, you can change. The past does not have to equal the present. I can't tell you how many clients I've seen completely transform and shapeshift into another version of themselves. And I've done it. I've seen so many people do it. You can see people, there's case studies of people who have rewired their brains to be able to recover from chronic illness and make like miraculous physical recoveries. You can change your fucking path in life. If someone can regain their vision, if someone can walk again just from rewiring their subconscious mind, don't you think you can just change course of your life a little bit? It's not that big of a thing. You think this paralysis analysis that you have, or this like feeling not good enough that you have, is such a huge barrier and such a huge wall. There's people out there who have had terminal illnesses who have been able to heal that through the power of their mind. Realize how powerful you are. Stop with this stupid story that you don't have power. That's just something that you learned. That is not the truth, okay? We have enough power. We're all given the same amount of power, the same amount of energy when we are born into this world. And you have been giving your power away to a story that doesn't serve you. And it's time for that to end. Because of neuroplasticity, we can literally rewire the neural connections in our brains. So whatever program you are running in that mind of yours, you can change it.
I'd like to buy this kimono, but I think it's stupid that I don't know what it says in Japanese. What do you think of this? I'm gonna take a screenshot and run it through ChatGPT.
You can change it. Anything that you're holding onto from the past, it only continues to exist because you're choosing it.
So the other one is without any.
You are not opening up space in your being, in your mind, in your energy, in your intuition, for a potential desire, a new possibility for your life. You're not opening up space for that to come in.
How great is ChatGPT?
You're standing in the way, is what I'm saying. This you that you have been up until this moment, who's attached to all these disempowering stories, is blocking your alignment and your dream life. Whatever way that you've learned to be from your environment.
Which services? Oh, you mean you need an account to be able to see the product? I didn't know. The translation says, "May the spirit always remain Do not let the years slip away in vain. Huang Wen, master of Yu Wang Studio. Wow. I like the little rhyme. Cool.
And from when you grew up, if that's not serving you, you have to take your power back from it consistently. You need to sit down
I might get it.
in silence and call your energy and your power back to you. And I do not want to hear it. If you comment on a video of mine, or if you're going to keep watching content to try and figure out your purpose, but you haven't once sat in silence, you haven't once journaled or tried to gain an ounce of self-awareness, then I don't want to hear that you don't know your purpose. You don't even know yourself. Of course you don't know your purpose. Of course you don't know what's meaningful to you. You need to sit with yourself. You need to understand yourself. You need to figure out what drives you, what triggers you, why. And there's an analogy that I learned from, there's a YouTuber, I think it was Dr. K is his name. He gave this analogy on a podcast. When you're trying to use everything outside you to create the terms and conditions for your life, it's essentially like you're driving in a car and you're driving
Dr.
your car,
K,
but you're
is she
trying
talking
to
about
look
Healthy
into everyone
Gamer?
else's car but your own to see how they're driving their cars, but you never once thought to look down at your steering wheel and to see how your wheel looks and to see where your accelerator is and where your brake is. And then you wonder why you crash into the fucking wall. That's what most of you are doing. You're going off track, you're crashing into walls, you're on other people's lanes, in other people's streets, because you've never looked inside your own car, which is your mind, your energy, your traumas, your shames, your habits, your victim complex, the way that you see yourself. These things, you have to take them into a journal, take them onto a voice note, go for long walks and vent about this stuff and get to know yourself. Your vessel, your energy, your mind
Yeah,
is the
she's
one
right.
place you're going to have to live in for your whole life. And it has to be your priority.
She's right about this for
That and
sure.
whatever connection you have with a higher power, those are the most important relationships in your life because those are going to be with you until the end. Those are eternal. You cannot keep putting the other external, fleeting, temporary stuff above those eternal things. They are the priority. And when you prioritize them, everything that's in alignment with your true self
I got a
and with
lot
your
of
fulfillment will come into
wisdom
place
from
for
her
you. So you're
from
playing it backwards. You are
earlier
playing the
videos,
whole
so
game
I
backwards.
definitely
You've
want to
got to
listen
start
to
acting like
her.
a creator. You've got to start nurturing your home, which is your energy, and clearing the goblins out of your basement, which is your traumas, your shames, the stuff that happened from the past. Do you know how much I do this work with people one-on-one? And it's so crazy. It's not crazy because when I first did this to myself, I couldn't believe it. But every single person, when they do this work, they can't believe the stories that they're telling themselves from their past because they're gone unconscious. And there is a 4-year-old version of you, there's a 5-year-old version of you, there's a 6-year-old, there's a 7-year-old, there's an 8-year-old, there's a 9-year-old. There are all these child versions of you that have created certain stories around things that happened when you were too young to understand the bigger picture. And when those things happen, the default reaction for you as a child is to say there's something wrong with me. So 90% of people have this childhood wound of not good enough, and they go throughout their lives trying to do things like find their purpose just to feel good enough, only to realize that it's just a story that their child 5-year-old self has been telling them. And when you go back, this is the part that shocks people, when we revisit the moments in childhood, the really key trauma moments that caused distress that was unresolved in the moment, that's a trauma, and you realize what your child self was thinking in that moment, you now with your perspective revisiting that can go, oh my God, girl, no, it wasn't your fault. But you in that moment when you were 5, you really honestly believe that. So the stuff when you do inner child healing, when you do shadow work, when you finally start getting to know yourself and why you are the way you are,
Oh yeah, that's
the
everything,
stuff that you're
for
going to
sure.
realize you're holding on to that is just false is going to set you free so much. It's going to shock you how many false stories and how many false perceptions you're carrying from your childhood and how much those have been limiting you and how actually easy it is to overcome them. All you have to do is look at them from a grown-up adult perspective now, from a compassionate perspective and say, hey, oh my God, no, that wasn't your fault. You are valid.
I am
You didn't have to
hypercritical
chase
anyway,
approval in this
so
thing. You didn't have to do this or do that or do that. This wasn't fair. When you say that to your younger self and you set yourself free from that stuff, you're going to stop
no, what it
looking
is
outside you for answers
critical.
and validation because your home, your energy, your mind is going to start to feel more
Is it
safe.
the right word?
Okay, and This is what I mean. You need to
skeptical
come
as well.
back. You need to stop running outside of yourself and giving your power and your energy away to everything. But in order for you to come back home and start hearing your desires and your intuition, you've got to clear out those goblins out of your basement, which is your traumas, the things that you're running from about yourself. Get to know yourself. Study yourself.
Yeah, skeptical.
Figure out why you are the way that you are. Give yourself some compassion. Give some love to your inner child that they never got. And then when you move from that energy, the things that you do are going to be to fulfill yourself, not to run from yourself. Okay, so don't go watching more videos about how to find your purpose, how to no. Heal the stuff inside you that's making you want to run away from yourself. Then you're naturally going to want to do things that are self-loving. And the most self-loving thing that you could ever do is follow your desires, is create a meaningful life, is prioritize.
That is so true though. You need a base, and your base is yourself. And if you're constantly running from it, trying to avoid the integration by just learning new stuff, expanding your skill set is always good. There's nothing negative about it. Zero. But yeah, you need a base first and foremost.
Yourself and your values and what's important to you. The reason you keep sacrificing that stuff is because you haven't gotten to know yourself. You haven't cleared out the goblins in your basement that are keeping you from loving yourself. So go there first, okay? I know this is about like finding meaning and purpose in your life, but you have to go to the root of the root of the root, which is your shadow, your inner child. Start there, and then you're going to actually just want to prioritize yourself and what's meaningful to you. Because if you don't even want to do that, I can't help you with these next few tips. I can't. You need to want to do it. You need to love yourself enough and understand yourself enough that you want to actually prioritize the things that mean something to you. A person who says, I don't know what they want, what I hear is, I don't know myself. And I'm not actually going to be mean about that because it's very difficult to know yourself. The reason you don't know yourself and you don't know what you want is because you've got a blindfold on. And that blindfold is your traumas, your shames, the stuff that you haven't healed. And it's also the
Foundation.
survival program, the program of society that you inherited. So your belief system about the world, about yourself.
Analogy with
that you
the
inherited,
house,
that
when
you're
you
running.
build a house on a
So when I
foundation.
say you don't know yourself, I mean your true self. You don't know who you are without the blindfold. And because you don't know who you are without the blindfold, you have no idea what will be actually meaningful to you. And this is why everyone gets into like paralysis analysis, overthinking, needing to ask a million opinions before taking action, like trying things and stopping, procrastinating, self-doubt. It's because you don't really know what's meaningful to you because you don't know you. You don't know who you are, really at the core of it. And I wish I had my whiteboard right now, but you basically, I'm not blaming you for this, by the way. It's not your fault, okay? It's not your fault that things happened to you that were stressful in your life, that caused trauma and wounds and shame. That's not your fault. It's not your fault that you inherited a paradigm and a program and a way of being that doesn't align with your true nature. That's not your fault. But it is your responsibility. It's your responsibility to navigate through that and to take that blindfold off so that you can really know who you are and what you want.
Yeah, but in Tetris, once you fill it out, it's gone. You don't want that.
So when you have lived your whole life, when people tell me I don't know what I want, what I see is they've got their authentic self.
It's gone.
How can I show you this? They've got their authentic self here. And this is their most fulfilled version of them. Let's just say on the timeline where they're most fulfilled, this is them. They're like this blue marker. This version does not have the same identity, the same beliefs about who they are and what they can be, do, and have. They do not carry and keep holding on to the same traumas and events from the past. They do not hold on to the same shames from the past. And this version does not buy into the program and the paradigm that society pushed onto them, okay? And then over here, I wish I had another hand, over here is probably when someone doesn't know what they want.
Yeah, that's nice.
This is someone who's out of alignment. So if this is your alignment, this is your
Because you
misalignment.
make room, you
And
make
this is someone
space
who's living
for
according
new
to their
stuff,
shames,
and the old
according
stuff
to not feeling good enough because of those shames, according to the traumas of the past, and
To the
according
ether.
to the beliefs, the paradigm, and the program of society that's been pushed on them,
I get
telling them who
behind
they
that.
are and what they should be. That's a lie identity. That is a false self. That is a self that was created to please everyone else. And it is not in alignment with your true nature. Your true nature is authentic. Your true nature is not looking for fulfillment. Your true nature is whole, all by themselves. And then anything they do from that wholeness creates more fulfillment, because as within, so without. So you've got to, if you don't know what you want, then you don't know who you are, because you're living this false identity. And I really want you to get into your head that that's not really who you are. So during my awakening process, I felt like someone was unraveling all of these layers and layers and layers of beliefs that I really thought were me. And the more I could let go, this is just a process of letting go, the more I could let go of all these beliefs about who I was and what I thought I could have and be in this world, the more I was able to figure out what was actually aligned with me. So when you're doing this awareness practice with these awareness practices and you're figuring out who you actually are and what you actually want, start questioning where your beliefs came from. Where did you learn that you had to be a certain way? Do you really want that? You have to start figuring out whether what you're doing in your life is coming from yourself and your authenticity, or coming from a need to be seen and validated and approved by the external world. Because if it's the latter, then that's bringing you further and further away from your true self. Okay, so the more you let go, and I have a video on this as well called Stop Being Yourself If You Hate Your Life, but the more you can let go of doing things just to be approved, the more you're going to be able to come back into alignment. So stop procrastinating, stop avoiding this uncomfortable inner work, which is to just start sitting with yourself, start meditating,
There is a
start
crystal
journaling,
ball.
start knowing
It
yourself,
says
and start
6
questioning
centimeters.
all the
That's
things that you think to be
nothing.
true about yourself. That is going to serve you more than anything. You need to have some fucking self-awareness, because otherwise you're never going to know what you want. If you're not doing that, get off YouTube. Get off looking for answers outside you. Stop doing that. Go within. You're avoiding, you're procrastinating, you're giving your power away by doing that, by just continuing to watch content over and over again for a week or a month. Get off your phone, stop scrolling, stop looking for the answers in everyone outside you, and just get to know yourself. That's going to save you. That is going to literally give you all the answers that you're looking for that you're never going to find outside you. Okay? Once you've done that, once you've started going to the source, healing your stuff,
Man, I feel so good
letting go
today.
of these
Holy
false
shit. Is
beliefs
this how
about your
normal people
identity,
feel?
realizing
Wow.
what's yours and what's not, you can start acting in alignment with
Let's
that.
see how
Let's
long
strip
this
it
is
all
gonna
the way back for a
last.
minute. You've got masculine and feminine energy. Stay with me. Stay with me. You've got masculine and feminine energy. The law of gender states gender exists on all planes in Hermeticism, okay? From the tiniest little molecule to the greatest form of matter, masculine and feminine energy exists. It exists within our being, it exists within our mind, it exists on all planes. And when you're trying to be a fulfilled being in this life, when you're trying to create genuine fulfillment and meaning from within, you need your masculine and feminine energies to be in harmony and in balance, and both functioning optimally. Because otherwise, you are not going to be a creative vessel. There's going to be a block. There's going to be no flow of life force coming through you and out of you and into the world. It's not going to happen. So each and every one of us have been gifted consciousness by the divine. We have divine life force energy flowing through us. Realize how precious that is. You need to channel the yin and the yang, the masculine and the feminine, in order to actually channel that into your life and begin to create value and meaning and fulfillment and projects and creations and everything magical and wonderful that you want, okay? If we start at step 1, you don't know what you want when your feminine energy is turned off. That is your intuition, that's your creativity, that's your imagination, that's your vision, okay? That's your playful energy, that feminine life force energy. That side of you will turn off when you're burnt out and wounded in your masculine energy. So
It's
if
stuck in my
you are
head.
running on survival mode, if you're constantly trying to control everything,
Do you
if you're
feel
constantly
trapped
doing things just to get validation, if you're constantly
in your
doing
head,
things that you
or
hate,
do you
if you're
see
constantly
the way
chasing
out,
people
but you're
and
just not
external things,
going it?
and you're never actually doing anything that means something
Like,
to
is it
you, you're
voluntarily?
going to be burnt out in your masculine energy. And your feminine energy is going to go, see ya, I don't want to play. I don't feel safe to give you an idea. I don't feel safe to spring to life. Okay? So she is like a precious seed that needs to be watered by healthy masculine energy. Your masculine energy is your action-taking side. It's your logical side. It's your very physical, grounded, earthly nature. And your feminine is your more spiritual, ethereal, intuitive nature. So
This is
a
what we
lot
were
of
talking
you,
about
if you don't,
yesterday.
if you're like,
She's
I don't have
talking about
intuition,
this
I can't
now.
hear my intuition, it's because you're basically, your masculine energy is basically giving fuckboy energy to your feminine energy. And your feminine energy has the ick. And she's like, I'm not playing
this
with
next
you.
thing.
I'm not giving you my sauce. I'm not giving you my ideas. You literally are so
Yeah,
flaky.
you're
Why would I do that?
so you're
When I gave you an
restless.
idea 2 years ago, you told me I was stupid. Why would I give you more? You need to start becoming aware of these two energies within you.
Check
So
yourself
if you're
for
at base
ADHD,
level
bro.
and you don't know, if you really don't know what you want and you really don't have a clue,
I'm serious.
start healing in your masculine energy. Start doing right now on this video, when you leave here, let go of 3 things that are not yours to fucking carry. Let them go. Let go of what your boyfriend thinks. Let go of what your friend thinks. Let go of 3 things, 3 to 10 to 20 things. Let go of everything that you can't control, because you're wasting your energy and you're wounding your masculine energy when you do that. You're putting all this focus and all this will, which is your masculine energy, you're exercising your will on things
Sounds to
that
me like you
aren't
need an
yours to be
outlet
exercising your will on. And it's wasting and depleting that resource when you should be using that
so
energy
that you
on things that
are
you can control. So take your power back and use that healthy masculine energy
okay with
by
whatever
taking
you are
action and
doing right
focusing on
now
the
and
things that
do
you
that
actually can
to
control, and especially
like
the
a high
things that you
level
can control
so
that
that you
you've
get
been
actually,
avoiding. That is
what's
going
the
to heal
term?
you into your healthy masculine energy so quick. And it's going to turn your feminine energy on faster than you would
That you
think.
get
So I literally do this. Anytime I get in a slump, I'm going, if I feel my intuition turning off, if I feel that play, that desire, that lightness, that feminine energy that's
let
giving me
me
visions and
Google.
imagination and creativity, if I feel that start to dip, these are the things I'll clock. 1, am I burning out? Am I overworking? Am I overthinking? Am I trying to make things perfect? 2, am I trying to control things that are not mine to control? What can I let go of right now? What can I let go of? 3, what am I avoiding? What am I not taking action on? And if you can do those 3 things, your masculine energy is going to shift from an unhealthy kind of imbalanced state to a healthy state. And your feminine energy is going to be so attracted by that. She's going to go, oh my God, yay, I'm safe. Here's an idea because
so
I
that you're
trust you
busy
now to
enough
actually execute it. And when you get an
so that
idea, when your
you
feminine
don't
energy turns
have
back
the
on
feeling,
and you get an
the
idea,
need
my God, you better act on that.
of
I
looking
don't care
for
how
anything
stupid it is.
more.
The stupider, the better. When you act on that, when you follow your intuition, when you nurture your feminine energy with your masculine by taking action on what you actually want, by stopping over-analyzing, analysis paralysis, when you just go with the flow of what you desire, everything in the universe is going to conspire for that to work for you. And I need you to just trust me when I say that. And you're not going to believe me till you do it. And honestly, guys, I didn't believe it until I saw it physically. But I had an intuition to move somewhere. It was my only strong intuition that I had. I had it for years. And I moved there. I was full of self-doubt still when I made the move. I didn't believe it was going to fix my whole life. I just was like, I have to stop ignoring this feeling. When I followed that desire, when I finally just threw caution to the wind and I said, I'm just going to follow that desire, I'm just going to go for it. My creativity, my life force, my intuition turned fully on. I was able to see a vision for my life that I could never see before. And everything in the universe started conspiring in my favor to start making things happen for me. And I've seen it with my clients, and I promise you, you have to take that leap of faith.
So does it
even
get
if you
in
feel
the
doubt the
way
first time you do this. But the universe,
of
God,
major things
source, your higher
that you're
self,
doing?
they're all going to catch you. You are going to figure that that's the
Or
best
is
thing
it
you ever
just
do.
like
And here's the alternative. You stay where
in
you
your
are.
head
You
kind
stay
of
attached to your
program?
suffering. You stay attached to this limited, playing small, misaligned life. No, thank you. I know it's scary, but honestly, your purpose and your fulfillment is on the other side of your fear. And you need to come to terms with that. It's on the other side of you getting outside of your identity. It's on the other side of you dropping this victim complex. And it's on the other side of all the things that you're scared to do and scared to confront about yourself. So the more you can run head first at that stuff, do things that your soul, your intuition, your desire is craving, that you know intuitively that you want, but your mind and your logic is telling you don't fucking do that. Those are the exact things that you need to start doing. Because when you do that, you're going to be caught. You are going to be divinely supported and divinely guided. And your vision, your intuition, a whole world will unlock for you that you've never seen before. You're going to have talents, creativity, all of this stuff, all of these dormant faculties within you are going to come to life that you never even knew you had. But you have to start taking those leaps of faith towards your desires, even when they don't make any sense. Yes, it's uncomfortable to do this inner work. Yes, it's painful to sit down and face your traumas and face your own
It's maybe too harsh of a word for
and
it.
the ways that you've been betraying yourself and abandoning yourself. But
You're
the
most
cost of
likely
you
just
not doing that
apathic
is living your
to
whole
the
life
external
out of alignment,
validation.
not reaching your fulfillment, not generating that meaning
Somewhat
from within,
autistic,
and not ever seeing your
but
potential.
not
Because
real
the thing
autism.
is, when you let go of all this fucking bullshit that's not true
When you
about
have
yourself and about the world and
restlessness,
about what's possible for you, and you start opening up to new possibilities, and you start
I don't
doing
know,
stuff in
man.
alignment with what you actually want, and you stop avoiding taking action on stuff that means something to you.
You
The
should make
stuff
like
that
a
you're going to realize
psychic
about yourself, you're going to
evaluation.
realize so many hidden powers and talents and just so many things about yourself that you
Because there's
never even
many
knew existed. You're going to see so many strengths and
many
so much potential in
possibilities.
yourself that you could never, ever, ever see when you were miles away from your alignment and your authentic self. It's like Why are you standing in a place where your light cannot be reflected just to please other people in this identity that is a lie? You're
Or
never
like
going to
make a
realize
test
your potential and
online.
how powerful you actually
Most
are
of them
so
you
long as
have
you're over
to
there.
pay,
You
and they're
have
behind
to
a
realize that
paywall.
this is the way.
But if you
and
do
it is
enough
so
small
worth it.
ones,
Yes, it's hard
you're
work.
gonna have
Yes,
a
you have to have some
good
fucking
idea of
discipline
where you
to sit
stand.
down and let go of all this stuff
That's what
and
I
get to
did.
know yourself and overcome those limits within you. But I'm telling you, it is the greatest gift and the most self-loving thing you can ever do for yourself.
In this video, I'm going to take you on a journey into the Libra full moon happening on April 12th. Before you go skipping ahead, I'm going to need you to listen up, okay? And watch the first half of this video, like always. Thank you. Thank me later. This Libra full moon, Scorpio risings.
Yo, we can listen to yours. I'm gonna listen to mine first. Scorpio. And you were the Taurus, right? I forgot. Let's see what this is about.
People please. So I believe that this full moon in a way is like a disorientation that happens when there's so many different core identities and relational patterns that are up for deep revision at once. Why do I think that? Well, because on the other end of this Libra full moon, we have the sun with Chiron. And in Aries, the sign about the self, the sign about the identity, the sign about independence. We've been going over Aries a lot these last several weeks now. At the heart of this lunation, it's like, who am I in relation to you? And what have I given up to maintain peace in my life or peace in other people's lives? A lot of ways we are being shown where we kind of twisted ourselves to fit into relationships or to avoid conflict or to maintain a version of peace that actually cost us our authenticity, therefore ends up being not peaceful, right? So Libra at its core is really about, equilibrium through contrast. We need the contrast to be able to see the difference, right? Like we need dark to be able to know light and we need light to be able to know dark, right? We need to have opposition and contrast in our lives or else we wouldn't recognize the other. For every one thing, the opposite must exist. Libra, on the higher side seeks peace by not ignoring conflict, but by learning how to...
I go by this through all my life now. For every one thing, there has to be the opposite side. It is absolutely true. This is the yin and yang, which ancient times already people knew. And time again, you see it again. It's the balance.
Negotiate difference without losing the self. 2 Octobers ago, on the Libra solar eclipse, which is right around where this full moon is happening, actually, because it was right near my sun as well. On that Libra solar eclipse, I had a hell of an...
You never stop learning, bro. But I know you didn't mean it like this. And don't get offended when I laugh about it like this. You know how I mean. I think what you want to say is you need a little bit of a break from your mind.
Awakening. I ended up kind of seeing like the true Libran archetype, like not the soft, passive, version, but like the divine archetype of Libra. It was like almost like a god in a way, but it was a Libra, right? So it was like in like these white and gray robes and it had like a sword in one hand. And
time to move your body.
I really realized in that experience, like what Libra was truly about and the beauty and the class of
Have you
the
checked out
Libra
Carl
energy.
Jung?
And really, I realized that in the highest frequency, it was truth. It was coming to the truth of your heart, right? The balance of your heart.
Check him
and
out. He's the goat.
And I realized that like peace wasn't achieved through silence. It was achieved through honesty and knowing oneself. And that is what this full moon is bringing to light in so many ways. This full moon kind of illuminates this negotiation between the sun and Chiron and Aries, bringing up some kind of wounded sense of identity, some kind of wounded sense of self.
Asylum.
And the moon in Libra, the internal emotions that we are trying to balance out, the internal feelings of others and self and identity that we are trying to sort through. So, we have this, sun in Aries conjunct Chiron, which is kind of raw and vulnerable and irritated and potentially unhealed, right? Aries wants freedom. Aries wants freedom and the right to exist without compromise. And Chiron in Aries says, well, I've been shamed or wounded before simply for just being me. I've not been able to just go throughout the world and take up space and be seen for who I am for some reason or another, or I've had to prove myself or, prove myself worthy in some way. So this full moon is really shining a light on these different topics, on how we've kind of adapted to or edited ourselves in relationships or around others, or,
this full moon got me crazy,
been kind
man.
of falling into a projection of ourselves created by what we think others think about us to feel safe, desirable, or lovable. And while the Aries sun is like, but what has this costed us? What has this costed our sense of authenticity? So The other side of this is looking at Venus, because Venus rules this full moon in Libra. And Venus is here in Pisces conjunct Saturn, moving direct literally an hour or two after this Libra
It's
full
our
moon.
boy,
Venus has been
Saturn.
retrograding for the last month and a half now. She's finally moving forward. She's finally moving direct, right?
I'd love to be able to read this chart. Holy shit.
On this Libra full moon, a full moon happening in her sign. That is not a coincidence. And she's moving direct on Saturn, which is exalted in the sign of Libra. Why? Because Libra is about finding peace in opposition. Saturn is about opposition. Okay, Libra has a sense of justice to it, fairness, making sure everything's balanced out, like a judge is supposed to be impartial, bias, etc. And I find myself, you know, when people bring something up to me, like a lot of the times, even when it's somewhat like negative,
Hey, that's a good
I
man.
will
That's a good
look at
thing.
myself. I'm able to look at myself and be self-aware enough and
Yeah,
detach
just
my own
do
emotions
whatever
and
the
stuff
fuck
from it,
if you
and look
don't
at
harm
myself
anybody.
and really reflect on it. And I
It's
think
all
that
fun
is
and
kind of the
games.
beauty of Libra. It's not getting lost in the biases and the emotions and all of that. It's actually looking at things from a more objective place with wisdom, intelligence, and heart. Venus is
Damn
conjunct
you!
Saturn and Pisces, and Venus is the ruler of this full moon happening in Libra. So this full moon is playing out through Venus conjunct
We're
Saturn
gonna
and Pisces,
investigate
and
more
Venus turning direct. And so this is
into
so
what this is
interesting
all
because
about.
Venus in Pisces is about mystical love, surrender, compassion, spiritual beauty. And Saturn sitting there with her while she stations direct kind of adds a sense of karmic weight to this, karmic depth to this. So it's almost like we are waking up from a dream or an illusion about love, worth, relationships, beauty, commitments, karmic patterns, social dynamics, or even we're waking up from a pattern of escapism and fantasy that helped us survive, but now has expired. This Venus-Saturn conjunction with Venus still retrograde, but going direct right around this full moon feels like something is expiring. It feels like something is no more. This feels very karmic. No, this could be old contracts, old soul karmic contracts, you know, old patterns, old mask. There's like a sense of release here and a sense of coming to some kind of healing with something, like finally letting something go, finally healing something. And it comes through some kind of realization or some kind of truth and clarity that we didn't have before, that we couldn't see clearly before. So this isn't just about like letting go. It's about forgiving ourselves for what we endured and the ways that we kind of bent ourselves
Yeah,
to
that is
survive. Venus stationing direct,
the
I really think is telling us loud and clearly that it's time to choose something different. It is time to choose something that is rooted in
the
some kind of
science,
soul
the science
truth
of zodiac.
and no longer illusion or nostalgia or longing or something that, you know, we had in the past or that worked in the past but is no longer now, is no longer aligned with our now. And this also reminds me of a psychedelic ceremony experience I had last year where I realized that I was like the mastermind behind every single lesson in my life, and I was able to see all of the experiences that I've went through and all of the hard, shitty things that I once felt victimized by. I was able to see that I designed it that way. It was me that designed it that way to teach myself specific lessons that I would not have learned if I wouldn't have made the decisions and choices I made and been in the situations I had been in, right? So it's like we have designed our life to teach us through relationships, to teach us through other people, which is so Libran. We have designed our lives to teach us through how other people see us, how we see others, how other people treat us, how we treat others, how we allow ourselves to be treated, right? The situations that we are attracted to, the situations that we find comfort and safety and solace in, the situations that teach us more about who we are as people and how we stand by our principles, our truths, our values. And so we have designed our lives to teach us through relationships and through these soul contracts that we get into. And this feels very Venus Saturn to me. And so I think that a lot of us could be noticing these things coming up right now. It's like we're closing out an era of old lessons right now to do with relationships and what we truly want and what we truly value. And it's like we've finally learned something fully and it's time to let it go. And so it's almost like this is some kind of karmic checkpoint, like a reckoning in love, value, and worth. And where we've not been, you know, seeing our worth or treating ourselves in the way that we need to be treated or in the experiences that we truly desire to be in because we've been trying to keep the peace or we've been wearing a mask that isn't who we really are. We've been holding in our truth in some way. Okay, like that's what this feels like right now. It feels like a release, like clarity, like loss, like finality, but also kind of like relief, like an exhale after like holding your breath too long or something, right? And so I feel like we're, you know, with Venus and Saturn is a boundary. It's the last planet you can see with the naked eye. It was the last planet that we knew about for a long time. So Saturn kind of rules what's on the other side of this boundary of the known and the unknown, a threshold. Venus coming up with Saturn, going direct on Saturn, and kind of moving with Saturn through Pisces after this is almost like we are crossing a threshold that that's needed in some way, shape, or form. And we are recommitting to our own truth, our own sense of soul cosmic truth in relationships with our values, with the lives that we want to create from here on out. I mean, this is really big. A Venus retrograde, right? Starts in Aries, goes back into Pisces, goes across the North Node, Neptune before it moves into Aries, Mercury retrogrades right behind it, Venus then conjunct Saturn, starts to go direct right as we have a Libra full moon in her sign. This Venus retrograde is such a karmic freaking experience, a psychedelic karmic healing experience where we are walking away from karmic ties, karmic stuff that has held us back for too long. And that's why this feels like an exhale, like a relief. So we are crossing some kind of threshold. And this is the point where we either recommit to the truth of who you are and who you know yourself to be, the truth of your values, the truth of what you want, the truth in your relationships with other people, the truth of who you are. Or, oh my God, my storage keeps interrupting me. Getting like so aggravated. Okay, balance, peace. Okay, anyways, so what I was saying is we either are recommitting to truth and relationships, values, what we desire, who we are, who we know ourselves to be,
talking
or
about,
we are
so
walking
I
the
can't
F away. We are
really
moving the F on, okay?
give a
And either
quality
way, we don't have to go back to the abandonment of who we are, the abandonment of our identity, the abandonment of truth, the abandonment of our values, our self-worth, and our true soul desires. It's like we are remembering what our soul is here to do with all this Pisces energy, right? We are remembering the soul mission, the spiritual essence of who we are. Like I said, like in a past like psychedelic ceremony I had for healing, I realized that I was the mastermind in my life. Like I created specific relationship situations, 4 lessons and challenges that all taught me something, that were all designed to teach me how to fully be myself in relationships and teach me about what I wanted and who I was, and not to abandon who I am and what I value and what I want for the sake of another person, but to bring my full self into love, right? And that's what so much of this is kind of leading towards, being our full selves, not being scared to take up space, coming back to our power. And that's been such a core theme lately anyway. Voice, especially with this Libra full moon, I think voice has been a major theme that I've been seeing lately. Visibility, shedding the people pleasing, saying what's real and letting go of performing, right? So this full moon is really asking us, where have we stayed on the fence? Where are you still wearing
Do you have any
a
clue what
mask
she's
to
talking
stay
about?
safe? And it's not about choosing others or even yourself. It's about truth. It's about choosing
Would you know how to
the
apply
balance between the heart and mind, and that is
your
where you
birth
find
date?
your truth.
We're gonna go into the zodiac soon, but I want to know about a little bit more general here. You know, here the bigger picture.
The other thing with this full moon that is so important to talk about is that, like I said, this full moon, you know, is obviously opposing the sun and Chiron in Aries.
Yeah, this end, if you are born in a certain zodiac sign, in a certain month, that means 9 months back, you would gather the energy in the womb. You can calculate it backwards of 9 months where you would gather and accumulate the energy of whatever these months are that you went through in the womb. And it is gonna be different for every month, how the energy of the moon, of the earth, the constellation of the stars, and everything is working together. So that also has an impact. That's how I believe. Of course, the nourishment and all of your mother and stuff, but the energy as well. It's just we don't have that on the radar.
And it's also squaring
What do you think?
Mars and Cancer at the last degrees here, and Mars rules Aries, right? So where the sun is at, right? So this full moon brings Mars into the mixture as well, and Mars is getting ready to move into Leo, where it will finish its opposition that it started with Pluto back at the end of last year. I talked about this extensively in my April horoscopes video, okay? And so this is kind of the intensity that we are building up to. It's the undercurrent of the like emotional reactivity, anger, fear, protection that we've been dealing with, that's kind of underneath a lot of these transits that have been happening, because Mars in Cancer wants to be safe, right? It is about safety and security, emotional safety and security. But it's at these very last degrees of Cancer, it's kind of like this last emotional buildup before it enters the sign of Leo, where it becomes a lot more visible and able to be more seen, right? And so Mars squaring this full moon adds a level of intensity to it and a level of friction to it, emotional impulses that are clashing with the fair relational dynamics of Libra. So we may feel kind of like pulled to like react, defend, or shut down, or kind of throw a temper tantrum or something, you know, for some of us. But the deeper story here really is what unresolved emotional shit is dictating how we fight, flee, or freeze in relationships, and with the truth that we are now realizing. And with the decisions that that truth is bringing. And if you're still with me, comment down below OG badass, because I appreciate you. And so what's interesting about this is that Mars is getting ready to rule or move into Leo, right? And Mars rules a lot of these Aries transits that we've been going through, including the Sun in Aries right now conjunct Chiron, right? And so a lot of this, I think there's like a pattern here that's emerging with this fire energy, and plus the Sun and Chiron conjunct for this full moon, it's kind of bringing up this core wound, or wanting to heal this core wound of like, am I allowed to exist fully as myself? Am I allowed to be myself and be seen and take up space and be who I am authentically, right? And Mars, the ruler of this Aries sun, being at the end of Cancer, this final moment of like emotional releasing before stepping into Leo, where the fire becomes
crazy, right?
or visible and more actionable, taken, like, you know, we take action on the things that we've just learned.
I think we don't even,
we're no longer,
like,
we're getting
we can't
ready
even,
to
like,
enter a space where we're no longer like, you know, content to just sit around and feel things.
even the words that we're using is all made up, just so we have something to hold on to make sense of it. But in reality, we can't even like understand it. So we are bound to these, how do I say this, man? There's so much more going on than we can see. I think that's
it's like we must act,
the
we must
best I can
express,
do
we
for
must take up
now.
space, right? And with the Pluto opposition that it's forming and going to form into, that starts building after this full moon, this is kind of the climax, right? The final confrontation. There's been some kind of confrontation with the shadow side of things, the power dynamics of visibility.
Trauma I see as a pollution. And then what else is polluting us, you know? It's like we don't know what's real to begin with, and then we got our mind playing tricks on us at the same time. Like, where do you even start?
Control, approval, and the resistance to authentic self-expression. So with this Mars-Pluto opposition building, it's like, what unconscious power dynamics are ready to be exposed
we're never gonna
or
understand
transform or ended in some way. So with this whole freaking story, it's like, you're not just being asked to reclaim your voice, you're being asked to wield it. You're being asked to embody it. Not just to see yourself, but to allow yourself to be seen. That's the bigger story here of what we're moving into, right? Not to just name the truth, but to live it. Okay, so the bigger picture really here is that this Libra full moon is not just about relationships, although that is a big component that you may see in your life to some degree. It's really about liberating ourselves from the ghost of the past and old agreements, even agreements that we made silently.
This is so good, dude. This is so good. Because I feel free.
Right? Old commitments that we made to ourselves where we felt like we didn't achieve what we wanted to, or
this week was crazy. Holy shit.
You know, that we've even made to keep the peace, to keep things balanced in our lives, or to earn love or approval from others, to survive, because it's ingrained in our survival with Mars and Cancer. We've been living in some kind of imbalance that this Libra full moon is coming up to address, and it's showing us the truth. It's a chance to harmonize things in our lives, to kind of show you that, like, hey, you don't have to do this anymore. This is not your truth, and this is not who you are. And because Libra is also very much about decisions, you know, and it's also often accused of being indecisive and flaky and all of that.
Could have written a book at the
I think the real task is
time
like,
while the
what
thoughts were
truth
fresh.
are you willing
You
to
mean
stand
you should
behind?
have?
It's
Yeah,
like, get
that's
off
always
the fence.
The same with me. I
what
think
you
the
know in your
same.
heart is true, regardless of what others think about it. Pick the path and stand in your knowing. You know, because this is about seeing where we've minimized ourselves, where we've overcompensated, avoided, or edited ourselves to be more likable or to fit into certain situations.
I drew a
And,
card for myself this
you know,
morning. Look what I got. Oh no! It does not have a soul! It's the Magician. And I loved it, dude. Action, creation, manifestation, power, self-confidence, clarity, willpower, skill, creativity. This is my day today. And it's so good. It's spot on. You love the card? Nice. Yeah, I draw one every morning and then I pin it to my wall.
you know, it's also about seeing that we can reclaim our truth without needing to fight or collapse, right? We can just embody our truth and find that balance between the heart and the mind. It's about rebalancing the self and other in our lives, being able to relate and know who we are, but also not needing others to change to accommodate who we are. It's about finding the middle ground and finding the similarities rather than only focusing on the opposites. And it's about a releasing of old karmic weight with the Venus-Saturn conjunction. And like I said, it's showing us where we've been maybe pretending or performing in our lives, right? And so in a way, it's also about kind of releasing a mask that we've grown attached to wearing, right? Releasing or dismantling the false self that we've been embodying in some way. So, and it's not only just about like speaking your truth and owning your truth, it's about, again, because truth really comes from the balance of the heart and mind. And when the heart has been activated, it comes through our truth, it comes through our voice, right? And so when we speak truth, we are able to do it gracefully. We are able to do it in a classy way because it is coming from the heart.
Oh, what is this? My vlog link is pretty old. I gotta update this one. Don't click.
In a way that helps others to understand rather than completely is just like, well, I think you're a bitch, you know, like that's not coming from the heart, right? It may be what you're thinking, but it may actually not be the true internal truth, right? Your true, honest truth, right? Like that's a deeper thing that is coming from your heart and your mind at once where they collide and become balanced. So again, this is about ending karmic ties and patterns and, you know, ending identity and relationship conflicts with some kind of peace that balances the scales. It's like, you know what, I've been fighting so freaking hardcore with this thing that's been going on forever, and I'm ready to just walk away. I don't care if I'm right. I don't care if I win something for walking away. I don't care if I lose something for walking away. Like maybe both people lose out, but at least it's fair. Or maybe both people win. At least it's fair, right? It's like this karmic, you know, cosmic point that we are reaching with this full moon that is cosmically and spiritually balancing something within ourselves and within our lives that is so, so important. And then as we step into the Mars-Pluto opposition, the question really becomes, can I hold this truth and the power of my truth without fear of rejection, destruction, or exile, right? Because that's what we are going towards. That's the bigger picture that we are headed towards with this Mars-Pluto opposition. And it's the final mask that we're kind of shedding. And then again, for some people, this could just be that, like, you know, some kind of, it may not be this deep for some people. For some people, it could just be the Libra full moon acts like a normal Libra full moon, comes in, you know, you realize that you need to make a decision. Maybe it is a hard decision, but it adds more peace to your life, right? Or maybe there is a middle ground that is found in a conflict or a situation or a confrontation or something that's been stressing you out, that finally a middle ground is found, or you see it from a new perspective and it helps you finally move forward and put this situation to rest and find peace, right? So again, those are the ways, I think, those are the different ways.
You know how long 30 years are? Holy shit.
Playing out. Let me know down below. Did you stay this far? Comment down below, badass alien. If you did, I appreciate you so much. I will be talking about my own personal revelations from this Libra full moon as it Scorpio
we're going to Scorpio, let's go.
This full moon is happening in your 12th house. So this full moon is bringing to light and revealing to you the hidden subconscious ways, patterns, addictions, cycles that deal with relationships, compromising, being agreeable, you know, kind of hiding certain things from the world, hiding certain things even from yourself. This full moon can bring a lot of activity in terms of your dreams and can be a really, really good full moon to meditate and go within, right? That's where you may find a lot more answers here. It's like you may have been focused on a certain wound or certain issues or subjects or situations regarding your body, health, wellness, job, and, healing in certain areas, especially with identity and what you believe and freedom, right? With the sun moving through Aries conjunct Chiron in your 6th house, there's been a lot of energy that you've maybe been putting into those 6th house areas of work, job, health, wellness, routines, healing in some way, shape, or form. And this Libra full moon is coming in to say, hey, number one, you don't got to do this alone. Number two, where have you maybe been imbalanced internally and subconsciously and with things that you've been putting off or avoiding or hiding in some way that are the key to getting the results that you want in your day-to-day life or with your work, health, day-to-day routines,
None
job,
of this speaks
wellness,
to me
etc.
so far.
Right? So like the way that I see it, sorry, it feels like something in my eye, but the way that I see it is that like you could be having like trying to like exercise more, get back into like some kind of physical activity like for your health or body, right? But then you feel like, you start going to the gym and it triggers these like Chiron wounds or something where it triggers these insecurities.
Her eyes are amazing, dude. Are these contacts?
And like, maybe you go to the gym and somebody that looked like they started on the same time as you is getting better results than you are, right? So it brings up these like, and I'm just using this as like a metaphor, not saying this is like exactly what's happening for all of you, but it's like, then you start realizing like, oh, see, this always happens. People always beat me. They're always faster than me. They always get results better than me. Like I should just give up, right? And this Libra full moon is coming in to say, hey, stop comparing yourself to others. Number one, you have this subconscious urge to do that. Stop trying to get your results or compare your journey in the same time as others or in the same way as others because you're not like others and that there's a beauty to that, okay? And you don't have to, like maybe this is all happening in the first place because you're more worried about what others think or there's some kind of social, insecurity or deeper subconscious pattern here that's being revealed, okay? And the ruler of this full moon, Venus, is conjunct Saturn in your 5th house. So could also be bringing up relationships, your love life, love and romance, sexuality, your passions, what you really want, desire, and find pleasure in. This is a turning point for those things right now. This is like, okay, like, you're kind of crossing a threshold. Something old is expiring. And this full moon is kind of like the end of something, the closing out period, a closure.
Oh my God. Okay, so, just to reiterate, we are talking about the pink twin moon that has happened over the past week. And now, like, it was a little cryptic and very superficial in the beginning, but the more she's talking about it, the more it makes sense. I actually made a video this week. Let me see on which date it was, where I was comparing myself to other people, but not for the reason she mentioned. This was 4 days ago. I made a video where I made comparisons of my life with other people's. It's this video here. It's a little morbid, but I'll share it. You don't have to watch, but basically I'm talking about how I compare my life with people in my age, and that it's going a little bit rough and slow because I was not thinking I would be here anymore, Therefore, I never really built a foundation. And because of this, after choosing to stay, I am now far behind on many things because I'm now building this foundation. And this makes so much sense. This was 4 days ago, and this was all during the moon. This is crazy, man. This is ridiculously crazy again.
Of closure in your life.
And the same goes for the relationships and love that she just mentioned. This just hits home really hard.
Where you've had to get really, really, really strong in what you believe with Mars moving through Cancer in your 9th house and on what you want out of life and how you see the world and your vision for your future, your mission, etc. And deal with past conflicts or deal with old tensions, especially with family and where you feel home is and things like that. And Mars is getting ready to move back into Leo, and the 10th, where it's like, it's time to own who you are and be seen and stop worrying about rejection because of the past. So I think a lot of this is bringing in social dynamics and social subconscious patterns that need to be faced. They're coming up for a reason. Things to do in your love life, maybe things that you've been attracted to that you're starting to realize no longer are attractive to you. It's like, oh, I used to be kind of attracted to this type of person, and now I'm really not. Like, that's expiring.
Yeah.
That's going away. I used to really be attracted to relationships like this, and now I'm not. Or I used to really desire this and want this in my love life, and all.
Man, why would she talk about these kind of things and not about any other bullshit that people talk about when it's zodiac? This is Scorpio, and it's done now, this segment. And she basically talked about exactly the things that I've been going through right now. How is this not fucking... What is happening here? This is so good. Yo, we're gonna sub and leave a like. That's amazing.
Now I'm kind of deciding on, something different.
You know, you could say like, oh yeah, they keep your zodiac very general so everybody can identify. No, nobody's talking about this. And now this is just what I've been going through.
Right, so these are the different areas and ways that you can see this coming up, Scorpio risings. Let me know down below how you are noticing it come up. I really, really love to hear what you guys are noticing with this one. And also comment down below sexy Scorpio rising because you are Vu. And we are moving on to Sag rising. So for Sagittarius.
Sexy Scorpio rising. Oh, I typed a 0 instead of an O. We're gonna leave it like this. Mayo.
Sagittarius risings, this Libra full moon is happening in your 11th house. So this could be...
Okay, cool. I liked it. Yeah, are you ready for yours? Leave a number. I did 0.
Right,
let's listen to Taurus.
Moving on to Taurus rising. So for Taurus risings, this full moon is happening in your 6th house. And so this definitely looks like potentially some kind of agreement, middle ground, or peace that is being kind of struck here in terms of your health, job, wellness, and day-to-day routines. This could definitely be with you being a Venus ruled sign as well. This could also have to do with your own health, body appearance, identity, and sense of self-expression in some way. And also other people, friend groups, alliances, acquaintances, aspirations, dreams, what you want in the world, your place in the world, and who you fit in with. Organizations, networking, marketing, any kind of groups that you belong to or like-minded people that you kind of hang around, that is definitely also getting brought up into this as well, since Venus is in your 11th house with Saturn, right? These are like long-term commitments, decisions, and karmic ties that are kind of coming up and being evaluated here. Also, with this full moon in your 6th house, it's like maybe if there's been kind of like what I just said for Aries with you guys as well, if you've had these subconscious wounds and patterns and insecurities and cycles of self-undoing where you are constantly like hibernating or withdrawing or feeling like you need to do things on your own or figure things out on your own, right? This Libra full moon could be coming in to say, hey, it could be balancing that out where it's like you don't have to do it all alone, or you can ask for help, or you can involve others in your work, wellness, day-to-day routine, self-care, whatever the case may be, right? Health, regimen, like whatever, right? And so it's kind of like finding like-minded people, and in a way it's almost like healing to your soul and helps you kind of balance these things out. Now, this full moon can also be showing you where you're out of balance in terms of your health and your wellness and habits, addictions, certain cycles or subconscious patterns that are keeping you out of balance and that aren't really in alignment with your truth and the truth of what you want your day-to-day life to look like when it comes to self-care, work, and your duties and responsibilities. So that could also be the case for some of you as well. Okay, so this full moon can be somewhat tense. It is squaring Mars in your 3rd house, bringing in this emotional intensity, but also this need to balance things out on like an objective, classy, gracious level, or to find peace with something. And so there can be like some emotions or some tensions or some issues that are going on or challenges coming up with your environment, siblings, extended family members, and again, potentially your lifestyle and your day-to-day routines with the 3rd and 6th house being involved here. Communications and also, potentially like movement, like something like the way I'm kind of thinking about it is like maybe for some of you, like, this could be that, like, your job has, you know, kind of expected a lot out of you, or expected you to maybe like travel a lot more or do a lot more things. And this full moon is coming in to say, like, hey, you're allowed to ask for help, you're allowed to speak your truth. Like, maybe if you can't do that, or you're not happy with doing that anymore, there is a way that you can go about this that is gracious and that can still keep the peace in your life, right? And so anyways, this could also be about some of you guys kind of feeling like you no longer relate with certain people or certain groups of people, and finding out like that, you know, you are changing who you relate with, or what kind of dreams for yourself and for your life and for your job and for your health and wellness, you know, like changing what that looks like. So let me know down below, Taurus risings, what you guys are noticing for this Libra full
Yeah, everybody's on a pivot right now. A lot of changes are happening.
moon. And if any of that resonates at all, I'd love to hear your feedback on what's going on for you guys with it, or what's going on for you.
So what do you think? So you're ruminating. How can we get you out of these thoughts? Is my ego growing? You know, before you get the idea of ditching your ego, think again. You're gonna need a healthy ego. Not too much though. You can shave off a lot. But leave some in there, trust me. I've been through that. And if you shed it all, people just gonna walk all over you. It's not nice. But realize, rather think, what is of real value and what is toxic ego. And other stuff you can just not care about. It's like, who cares what you think? So how can we get you out of these thought loops that you're in? You know, the more you engage with these, the more they're gonna stay ingrained in your brain. And I would highly suggest you to look up neuroplasticity. Very fascinating. And how you can rewire your brain. And it's gonna take some time, but it is possible. Even after all these years, you can still change your brain and the brain waves. And literally, physically change your brain. Oh, so you were not complaining? I'm sorry then. I got you wrong. Still, it stands. If ever you think it's holding you back, think about it. Yeah. Very rough. Because you have good intentions. But if you take a step back and think about it, you truly cannot love if you don't love yourself. I love the analogy with the glass of water, which you cannot give water if your glass is empty. Or in an airplane where you have the oxygen mask, you gotta put it onto yourself first. And I have just learned this, like just this year. You know, that it's okay and that I should not feel bad about it. Because basically I was wired to think that that's a bad thing in some sort of a way. Egoistic, you know? But it's not. Hmm. You know, I struggle with self-worth, and I have realized it. Self-worth and self-love. When I understood that for other people I would wake up and immediately jump out of the bed, when for other people I would dread the thought of going to sleep because I want to be around them for much longer. And for myself, I wake up and just want to stay in bed and just die and make it through the day to be able to fall asleep again. And I said to myself, the moment I jump out of bed for myself, I know I am healed. And I have the feeling I'm getting there. It feels good. But that was a big revelation this year. Yeah. I said to myself, if I only love myself 1% as much as I loved my ex, I would conquer the world. And I believe it. I truly do. And that's when I realized I have this problem. That was the realization was so strong. But I talked to my therapist today and I told him about the card we drew yesterday. The strength of two together. And I told him how I cherish this utmost and that I truly believe in it. And that I cannot understand why society deem it toxic. As in, you need to be able to love yourself and that should be enough. As in, if you believe this way, you are attached, dependent, and whatever kind of label you want to throw at it. I don't think like this at all. And I'm gonna stand my ground and die with it. And I'm gonna die on this hill. I do truly believe in the power and the strength of two together. Hold on, let me read what you say here. Yes. Okay. Now give me the comparison to yourself. Disregard the people that you like, which you are standing up for, waking up for. How is it for yourself? Do you keep laying in bed, ruminating? Or are you awake and it's go time, let's build? Because that's what I'm striving for. Because that's true love. Of course, you can stay in some days and enjoy. But I'm talking about the little bit more extreme variant where you just don't feel like going out of bed, getting out of bed. It's go time for yourself. If you're in this spot already, then you are so much ahead of me. And I envy you. That is amazing, man. You should be so thankful. Okay, well, procrastination is also a sign of trauma. Could be. It's nothing is set in final or, you know. But it has to be said. However, procrastination and still getting it done is still so much more worth than just staying in bed, not wanting to live. I think it's gotten a little bit better. Today was I didn't sleep good at all today. But I didn't drown in thoughts this morning. That was good. Have you tried 16 personalities? No. What is that? Oh shit, you're mod. Is this free? Yeah, we can do this now. But I'll browse a little bit more of Timu while we listen to the last video in the playlist here. Yeah, I'll check it out for sure.
Within witchcraft, there are so many different techniques for carrying out our spell work, from poppets and candle magic
I'm a witch now, by the way.
to not magic and verbal charms. It's understandably quite confusing, especially for a beginner, when you're trying to decide what's going to work best for you and your particular intention. So today we're going to be going through some of the most popular techniques for spell work and talking about why you might use each one. And hopefully by the end of it, you'll have a better understanding of what's most suitable for you. To kick things off, we're starting with poppets. Now, a poppet is one of the most misunderstood aspects of magical practice. They're simply a magical doll. Now, these dolls are used in sympathetic magic, that being like attracts like, and they're used as representation for a person or animal in spellwork and ritual, especially if that person or animal isn't able to be present. These dolls can be used for so many different reasons, but usually they are created in the likeness of a person. They'll often include tag locks or other items that link that doll onto the target of that working. So it could be a whisker from your cat, it could be a photograph of your friend or loved one that you want to do that spell on, and those are added into the creation of the doll so that it links that doll onto the target of that working. Now, you can make these dolls in many different ways. The main goal is for them to at least have a passing resemblance to the person or animal that you're doing that working on. They can be made out of fabric, clay, wax, wood, stone, whatever it is that you have access to and that suits your working. Now, these poppets are primarily used when the target of that working does not want to or is not able to be present in that working, but they can also be used on yourself if you do struggle with casting spells and rituals on yourself. So some examples of using a poppet might be that your loved one is traveling abroad. They aren't able to come home so that you can cast that spell or ritual on them, and so instead you create a poppet for them. This representational poppet is then kept safe and secure. Spells are then cast upon this poppet to offer that person extra protection, and that protection then manifests in their physical life halfway across the world. Another example could be a pet that is really ill. Maybe they're in their vets
She's
and they're
talking
really
about
struggling.
voodoo.
You have a whisker of theirs and you want to offer them some additional healing. You might want to create a fabric poppet, and inside you might want to put healing herbs and items that represent them, and then you would nurture that poppet, cast healing spells upon that poppet in the hope that it might aid their healing alongside any treatments and any medications that they might need to take from the vet. If you do struggle casting spells and rituals on yourself, maybe you struggle because there isn't a physical object for you to work with, you can create a poppet that is a representation of yourself. This poppet contains your tag locks, your energies, and then you cast your spells onto the poppet, which then trickles over from the astral plane into the physical world and starts to manifest in your own life. Poppets are so variable. You can also use poppets for baneful magic if that's something that you are interested in, and the kind of materials that you use and techniques that you carry out is going to vary depending on your personal practice. But they are a great technique, especially if the target of that spell or ritual is not able to be present. Similar in a way to a poppet is a spell bag or pouch. Now these are small bags, sometimes they're handmade in a specific colour to represent your intention, that are then filled with herbs, crystals, items that represent your goals, and then they are sealed up and either carried around with you or placed in locations of significance. So for instance, if it is a spell to help you focus at work, you might want to keep it on your desk or in your desk drawer. If it is something to help bring out psychic dreams, you might want to keep it under your bed. If it's something to make you more confident and more likeable, then carrying it around with you on a day-to-day basis is a great way of doing this. These bags are ideal if you want long-term manifestation of a goal and you want to be able to carry it around with you, which makes it really useful if you do live in a space where you can't just leave things lying around. You have to
You
carry
think
things
you were
with
the
all
special
the
guest?
time. These spell bags and pouches can be really good. They can also be given to other people.
Maybe.
So if you do have a friend or a relative that would like some additional magical support, but they don't know how to carry out spells and rituals themselves, you can create a spell bag for them and then you can gift it to them so then they can carry it around and have it manifested in their life. This style of practice can be really good if you aren't great at using tag locks. I do have a full video on the subject that I will link in the description box if you do want to learn more about that. Because you're essentially carrying it around with you all of the time, it's going to be releasing that energy and manifesting around itself. So as long as that spell bag is around you, it's going to manifest in your life. If that spell bag is around someone else, it's going to manifest in their life. And so where it manifests is going to be where it spends the majority of its time. So that can be really good. They're really good for people who are just getting started with spells and rituals and you aren't too comfortable with using tag locks just yet. Next up, we have spell bowls. Now a spell bowl is exactly what you might think it is. It's a bowl that contains items that are associated with your spell and your desired outcome. These bowls are often left out on altar spaces or in rooms where you want that energy to manifest. They're fairly similar to spell bags in that they contain the items that represent your target intention, your desired outcome, except instead of carrying them around with you, they stay within the location you want that energy to manifest. They're also particularly good if you do like something that's very tactile, that you can dig your hands into, that you can energize frequently by touching it. So it can be really good if you want to work more in the physical world and less in the spiritual world. Now there are a few downsides to spell bowls. The first is that you're not really going to want them if you've got any pets or children that might pull a spell bowl off the side, or if it contains any kind of herbs or items that might be dangerous to them. And they're also not necessarily suitable if you live in an environment when you can't be open about your magical practice. But they can be really good if you want to energize an entire space, as they do often have a wider area of influence than a spell bag might. Next up, we have bottles and jars. These are often used to contain energy. Now, a good example of this would be a witch's bottle. Historically, witches' bottles were used to contain the urine of a target of a witchcraft attack. It was believed that this urine contained a part of that witch's essence, and so by trapping it in that bottle, it would irritate the witch and force them to come back, apologise, and undo the spell. Modern practitioners today still use witch's bottles in a slightly different way. They act as a scapegoat, that being an energetic double of yourself, so that any unwanted energies and spirits that target you will
I was
go to
alone
the
for
witch's
so
bottle
long.
instead. Once inside that bottle, they
I
are
don't
then
want it
contained,
anymore.
they cannot escape, and then the practitioner can dispose of it accordingly. Now this is a great way of using a bottle, especially if it is sealed and inside there are pins or perhaps entwining thread that is going to trap and contain that spirit and that energy. Now spell jars can be used for a similar purpose. They're used to contain energy, but they can be taken in two different directions. So in some cases, you might want to contain something that is causing you or someone else harm. Similar to a binding spell or a freezer spell, you want to stop that situation in its tracks. And so within that jar, you place representations of what you want to stop, as well as items and ingredients that are going to aid in that, and then you seal it and put it away somewhere, and you do not open it. You leave it in the dark to sit and ruminate and stagnate, and that is the goal for that situation. The other method of using a spell jar is still containment, but it's more along the lines of preserving. Much like how you preserve food, and several months down the line, it is still
I have done it for too long.
better than it was
People
before.
knew me as a lone wolf.
Jars. Now they aren't instantaneous.
That was all of my identity.
Even months to improve and get better, but you
And
add
it's
items and representation.
It's this duality where you go from one into the other throughout your life, from one extreme to the other, right? And I feel like it's time to socialize now.
Into that jar of something you want to maintain and improve, and over time, while it is sitting with positive energies and positive thoughts, it
But you know, humans, they're not meant to be alone, and you die earlier if you're alone, and you don't thrive when you're alone. Yeah.
amplifies and it magnifies within that jar, so that when you're ready, you can open it, release that energy, and you have even more of what you wanted to preserve in the first place. Both of these techniques are for containment of energy, it's just you can take it in several different ways. But if you do want something that's quick and instantaneous, spell jar might not be for you. You might be better off doing something like candle magic or even poppets or bag spells, because especially for positive goals where you want to magnify it over time, it is going to take some time to build up that energy. With that being said, let's talk about candle magic. Candle magic is probably my favorite form of magical practice. If you've been on this channel for a while, you will know that I use candle magic a lot, and that's because it's so versatile. You can use it for positive magic and negative magic, short term and long term, and it could be good if you do enjoy working with candles or the fire element. Candle magic can be done in many ways, but two of the most popular methods would be to use the candle as a vessel for energy. So you charge the candle with your energy when you can, and then you release that energy by burning it. This is particularly good if you do struggle with your energy or mobility, or you can only work during certain times of the day or certain days of the week. It means that you can charge it with the energy when you can and then release it when you need it. The other form of working with candles is to use them as a representation of the fire element, and to work with that elemental
for a
energy.
while,
This is
definitely,
really good if
people
you do
go
want to
through
start
this
dabbling
hermit
into
phase.
elemental magic and aren't really sure where to start.
Many
Both
do.
of these forms of candle magic are incredibly powerful and can be used in so many different ways. You can use a massive candle that takes days and days and days to burn. You would put pins in the side to represent where you need to stop burning, snuff it out every time, and then every day you would relight it again. And this technique allows you to burn candles for weeks, even months on end. You can also use really small candles such as tea lights, which burn for 4 hours, or birthday candles, which burn for about 10 to 15 minutes, and you can do your spells just during the duration of time that that candle burns. There is so much flexibility, and that's why I think I love candle magic so much. But as with all candles, when it comes to witchcraft, make sure that you are using fire safety, make sure that you're always safe, never leave a burning candle unattended, etc, etc. I'm hoping that you will know your candle safety. If not, I would advise learning a little bit more about it before you start your journey in candle magic. Another spellwork technique is the use of sigils. Now, sigils are magical symbols that have been created to represent a specific goal and intention, and they're usually taken in one of two directions. Either they are charged with energy while you are creating them, which allows you to wear them, carve them into candles, and so on and so forth, or they are created by their destruction, such as setting it on fire. Sigils are incredibly useful magical tools, but they're usually very short term unless they're added into a much larger working. But they can be great if you do want something a little bit more tactile. If you are very creative with your magical practice, it could be a great way of adding some artwork into your spells and rituals. You can use them alone or alongside other forms of practice. The next technique is knot magic and cord magic, and this is a technique that I wish was more spoken of. It's essentially the idea of knotting your energy into a length of cord. Now, cord magic can be as complex or as simple as you like, but I'll keep it fairly simple in today's video. Now, a good example historically of this were the peddlers and charmers who used to sell the wind to sailors on the coasts of Britain. They would enchant knots and trap the wind within them, so when the sailor needed favourable winds to guide them out of danger, they would undo a knot and the wind would blow them on a safe course. Now, this technique can be adapted into our own magical practice. A length of cord is taken and several knots are tied in it. Sometimes it's 1, 3, 7, 9, 13, depending on your tradition. And as each of these knots is pulled taut, you breathe your intention through it and you snap it shut. This traps that intention and that energy inside that knot, so it can then be released at a later date. If you need good luck, then you would energize this cord with good luck, seal it within the knots, and then release one every time you needed it. If you wanted something to be...
This giving items energy, I feel like... I think it's so cool. Because it's completely invisible. And only you know about it, right?
incredibly powerful.
It's so silly. I
With
like.
an entire coven of practitioners, each of you can add your intentions into a singular knot, and then at the end of that ritual, you burn that knot in an open fire, using fire safety, of course. This releases all of that energy all at once and magnifies all of that power because every individual has added their own energy into that spell. This can also be taken the other way. If you want something to be trapped, you seal it inside the knot and then you don't release it. Instead, you dispose of it. You might put it into a bin, you might keep it in a dark place and never let it see the light of day ever again. You might allow it to rot in the earth as long as it is completely biodegradable. There are so many different ways of using knot magic, but this is a good technique for temporarily containing energy to release it at a later date. And lastly, we have verbal charms. Now, verbal charms are commonly seen alongside other forms of magical practice. You'll often see them being used with candle spells, with poppets, with bags, but they can be used alone. A verbal charm is a simplistic chain of words. This might be something that you have created yourself or that you've taken from another resource. This could be a poem, this could be some folk charms that have been passed down to you. Some people will even use psalms within the Bible. They're usually quite memorable and sometimes they'll even rhyme. These charms can be used alone or they can be repeated 3, 9, 13 times, and in some cases allow us to drop more easily into a trance-like state. They can also be used alongside other forms of magical practice to add extra power and potency. For some magical practitioners, they don't use anything other than their verbal charms and their energy. And that's really what I want to end today's video on. There are lots of different techniques for spells and rituals, lots of tools and items and additions and things. But when it comes to magical practice, sometimes the most powerful form of practice is simply yourself and your energy. Ultimately, everything else is an addition. They allow us to focus easier on what we want to manifest, and especially if you're just getting started, they can be really useful to help focus us on our goals, but they aren't a requirement for magical practice. You can have a powerful and successful magical practice with nothing more than your intention, your focus, your energy, and your effort. Everything else is something that can help, but isn't necessarily a requirement unless you want to include them. So with that being said, I hope that you did learn from this video. I hope that you found it
Good
useful.
summaries
I would
here.
love to know the kind of techniques that you employ
It's
within your own
getting
magical practice.
hot.
Do you include anything different from this video? Do let me know. If you did enjoy this video, feel free to give it a like. It means a lot to me and it lets me know which videos you like. If you do have any questions, comments, concerns, video ideas, feel free to post a comment down in the comment section. And if you do enjoy the magical content on this channel in this video, feel free to hit subscribe. I try to post magical content every single week. So with that being said, I hope you're all staying safe. I hope you're having a marvelous magical day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!
Cool. We're gonna check out this test, the personality test. Oh, I feel drained. Okay. So I got 40 bucks of articles. It's the Tarot deck, the dark one, and then there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different, what's it called, for the table where you put the cards on. So I got 5 different ones because they all look amazing, and I'm just gonna hang them on the wall. Then there is like one teeth whitening powder, which my teeth are not the worst, but I'm gonna try this one out. Plops, yes. There is a shirt I like. Then there's like a finger, a ring finger claw kind of thing. An obsidian pendant. A leather journal. Looks pretty cool. A beanie with a pentagram and life tree and moon. A sleeping mask. And what else? That's it. Yeah. So far, so good. And I want a crystal ball, but they are too expensive. I don't want to go for the small ones. They're too small. I was gonna go for contacts, like colored contact lenses. But the cheapest ones are like 10, 15 bucks, and then you can only use them for 1 day. It's kind of scuffed. You gotta pay a bunch of money for the good ones. Long time user? No. I just got into it, but I love all the things about it. It's nothing special having the 5 cloths. They look amazing. I just like stuff that looks nice. And each one of them is like $2 almost. It's good value. I need to buy new guitar strings. Oh god, it's all gonna be so expensive. Fuck. Oh, I forgot the vampire fangs. Yeah, let's get some vampire fangs. Are these one-time use only? I'll check it out later. It's cool. So let's see, 16 personalities. You regularly make new friends. Let's see. I'm so tired today. That's horrible. Like, I feel like really just sleep. What does regularly mean? Complex and novel ideas excite you more than simple and straightforward ones. I mean, I guess. Usually feel more persuaded by what resonates emotionally with you than by factual arguments. Neutral. Your living and working space are clean and organized. It's not the worst. It's clean. Man, it actually is organized. Fuck, it's probably neutral. You usually stay calm, even under a lot of pressure, yes. You find the idea of networking or promoting yourself to strangers very daunting. No. Prioritize and plan tasks efficiently, often completing them well before the deadline. Well, I do like to procrastinate. However, I do. Maybe middle thing again. Mm-hmm. People's thoughts and emotions speak louder to you than numbers or data. You like to use organizing tools like schedules and lists. Yes. Even a small mistake can cause you to doubt your overall ability and knowledge. Nah. Strong nah. I understand the difference in strong yes and strong no and the things. This was a strong one. You feel comfortable just walking up to someone you find interesting and striking up a conversation. Yeah. You're not too interested in discussions about various interpretations of creative works. Not interested in discussions. Always interested. You prioritize facts over people's feelings when determining the course of actions. No. You often allow the day to unfold without any schedule at all. This has been the case, but no longer. So it's like a disagree kind of thing in between these. You rarely worry about whether you make a good impression on people you meet. You enjoy participating in team-based activities. I hate multiplayer. I swear. Everybody is just flaming and toxic. But that's games. How about real life? I guess I agree somewhat. Enjoy experimenting with new and untested approaches. Yes. Prioritize being sensitive or being completely honest. Being sensitive over completely honest. I love to be completely honest, so this has to be the counterpart, but I don't understand this. How does sensitivity correlate with honesty? Because I prioritize honesty above everything. Let's do it like this. Oh. Whoops. Can I go back? Maybe one to the right. It doesn't matter. It's not that crazy. You actively seek out new experiences and knowledge areas to explore. Yes. Prone to worrying that things will take a turn for the worse. I used to so, but not longer. So because it's quite recent that I made the change. You enjoy solitary hobbies or activities more than group ones? Yes. Depends. You cannot imagine yourself writing a fictional story for a living. Nope. And with that I mean I can. So you favor efficiency in decisions, even if it means disregarding some emotional aspects. Yeah, I actually fully agree. However, I'm not able to sleep. So maybe it's like a middle thing. You prefer to do your chores before allowing yourself to relax. In disagreements, you prioritize proving your point over preserving the feelings for others. Not really. Not at all, actually. I just don't give a fuck. But not too crazy that I'm dismissive. Yeah. Usually wait for others to introduce themselves first at social gatherings. I don't care about this. Like neutral. Your mood can change very quickly. Not easily swayed by emotional arguments. Yeah. Often end up doing things at the last possible moment. Yes. Most of the time, but not always. I mean, it's often, yeah, I fully agree. You enjoy debating efficacy. I love it, dude. I love this. Prefer to be around others rather than your own. That's the thing. I could never imagine myself living with other people. And like I have to live alone, for example. And I do really enjoy company, but it's not like without boundaries. And it has to be like planned. So something like this. And the discussion gets highly theoretical. Meh. When facts and feelings conflict you, you usually find yourself following your heart. Well, this got me in a lot of trouble. I don't know. You find it challenging to maintain a consistent work or study schedule? Yes. You rarely second guess the choices that you have made. Not recently. Yeah, no. Yeah. Your friends would describe you as lively and outgoing. I think so. That's the mask I put on. I think so. You are drawn to various forms of creative expression, such as writing, yes. Usually base your choices on objective facts rather than emotional impressions. Depends. You like to have a to-do list for each day? Yes. Just recently, I overpopulated my Google Calendar for like hourly. You rarely feel insecure. You avoid making phone calls. You enjoy exploring unfamiliar ideas and viewpoints. Yeah. You can easily connect with people you have just met. I think so. I like to believe so. A lot. If your plans are interrupted, your top priority is to get back on track as soon as possible. Interesting. Man, when you suffer from depression and you get derailed, you want to get back, but it's like it's not happening. Oof. This one is really hard for me. Yeah. This one is really hard to answer for me. Still bothered by mistakes that you made a long time? Yes, a lot. You're not too interested in discussing theories on what the world could look like in the future. Your emotions control you more than you control them. Well, I'm working on it. So I believe I'm like here now. When making decisions, you focus more on how the affected people might feel than on what is most logical or efficient. I want to cut them some slack, but I really don't care. If it's necessary. Oof. Somewhat disagree. That was a rough one as well. Your personal work style is closer to spontaneous bursts of energy than organized and consistent efforts. This is... When you have clarity for a week, then you're gonna try and put as much work in as you can, because you know next week you might be in a depressed hole again, if you're me. So it's sadly it's a big agree. But this is due to a condition and not because I want it. So what do I do? When someone thinks highly of you, you wonder how long it will take them to feel disappointed in you. Yes! Oh my god! You would love a job that requires you to work alone most of the time. Yeah. You believe that pondering abstract philosophical questions is a waste of time. I mean, pondering is a strong word. I think, and abstract as well, like, right? Like, what are we doing here? So it's a little bit of a disagree. You feel more drawn to busy, bustling atmospheres than to quiet, intimate places. Strongly disagree. Maybe a little bit less, though. If a decision feels right to you, you often act on it without needing further proof. Yeah. I just recently caught myself taking some more time in decision making, sleeping more about it, thinking more about it. But usually, yeah. But this is again feeling and not thinking. Okay, yes. Often feel overwhelmed. You complete things methodically without skipping over any steps. Okay. You prefer tasks that require you to come up with creative solutions rather than follow concrete steps. I don't really care about this. You're more likely to rely on emotional intuition than logical reasoning when making a choice. Can I go the more logical route and have the emotion in the background? You struggle with deadlines. Yes. Not too crazy, though. It was much crazier. So it was this, but now it's this, I believe. You feel confident that things will work out for you. Yes. Yes, big time. I am male. ENTPT debater. What? As an ENTP debater, you are a vibrant intellectual force, always ready to challenge ideas and push boundaries. Your quick wit and audacious spirit make you a natural provocateur, thriving on the mental gymnastics of a good argument. I see why it would say this, if I think back on the questions. You see the world as a playground of possibilities where every conversation is an opportunity to explore new concepts and challenge the status quo. Yes, 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 yes. Your innovative mind is constantly buzzing with ideas, making connections that others might miss. You have an uncanny ability to see potential where others see problems, approaching challenges with enthusiasm and creativity. This makes you an invaluable asset in brainstorming sessions and think tanks, where your out-of-the-box thinking can lead to groundbreaking solutions. Yeah, I'm that kind of a person, huh? Extroverted, 58%. Yeah, I also feel myself like being in the middle. Intuitive. Yeah, very intuitive. I'd like to be more observant, but I feel like this is right. 50-50 thinking seems right. Prospecting. You're likely very adaptable, easygoing, and flexible. Prioritizing spontaneously. See, that's the thing. Now it thinks that I prioritize that because I have chosen for it to do so, but it's not the case. It is because of my condition. But I mean, we're in the 50-50 range, so I guess I'll accept it. Definitely not judging. Yeah, I'm happy with this. Okay. Turbulent. You're likely self-conscious, sensitive to stress, success-driven, perfectionistic, and eager to improve. Interesting. Perfectionistic sounds like too strong. However, your love for the theoretical can sometimes overshadow the practical. While you excel at generating ideas and strategies, you may find yourself losing interest when it comes to the nitty-gritty of implementation. Yeah. The mundane details of everyday life can feel stifling to your free-spirited nature, yes, leading to a tendency to procrastinate, to routine tasks, or abandon projects once the initial excitement wears off. Yes! Your charismatic nature and gift for debate make you a compelling communicator, capable of rallying others around your vision. Yes. Yet this same trait can sometimes come across as argumentative, or this is so true, if not tempered with emotional intelligence. This is so true. That's why emotional intelligence is so interesting for me. This is so true. Because you always have to like say, I'm always attacking, and then I have to like pull back, but you know, like it's not, I don't mean it that way. Learning to balance your sharp intellect with empathy and tact is the key part of your personal growth journey, allowing you to harness your full potential as a visionary leader and innovator. This is so good, dude. Career path. How much more is there? Oh my god, that is too much, dude. What the fuck? And you can unlock the full result behind the paywall. Yeah. Okay. Let me just fly over this real quick. Yeah, I'm a creative. Yeah. Yes, exactly. I do not bow to rules. We do not bow to kings. We skin them. Your strengths: creative problem solving, highly adaptable, persuasive communication, generating ideas. Absolutely. Weaknesses: seeking new challenges. Direct communication style. No. This is, I don't agree with these two. Difficulty with follow through, probably. Especially back then, yeah. But not so much anymore, man. I swear this all has to come back to my fucking depression, man. It's fuck. Questioning authority, yeah. Career ideas you might love. Startup team member. Creative copywriter. Work styles that suit you. Idea freedom. Dynamic environments. Yeah. Personal growth revolves around bridging the gap between your boundaries, ideas, and the practical implementation. Yes, I need more discipline. Yeah, I need discipline and routine. Cultivating emotional intelligence, yep. which I have a bunch now, I believe. Fuck, man. It depends on the people. But also an inspiring and effective leader. It's true. It's true. Intellectual curiosity, adaptable mindset, creative problem solving, open to new ideas. Weakness, emotionally distant. Yeah, I guess. Which I do want to open the door a little bit more, but again, like, it depends on the people. But we do have all these videos now where I'm just crying and sobbing. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm working on right now. Overconfidence. I disagree with this. That was maybe in the past. Difficulty with commitment. This also the past. Fear of starting. This is past, intertwined with depression. What energizes you? Exploring new ideas, absolutely. Creative challenges, yes. What drains you? Routine and repetition. Well, I have never had routine. So we are doing this right now. Excessive rules, absolutely. Relationships. I never had a relationship, man. Yeah, but this sounds good. A lot of thinking realm. I don't know. Man, I had many women, okay? But I never had a meaningful relationship. The longest relationship I was in was like a year, and even that was like, didn't feel like a relationship. And then the next was like 2 or 3 months, which felt like 0. But because I am disorganized. Oh, you mean it's not only romantic? Yeah, I mean, I'm bad with having friends in real life as well. I'm disorganized attachment style, you know? Avoidant and anxious. So it's a lot of hardship. It's very hard. But yeah, I'm working on it. So I disagree with this. My weak is argumentative, I guess, yeah. Which I do leave the ego at the door nowadays, much more. Fear of commitment, not any longer, not with the right person. Seeking attention, yeah, probably. Relationship. Man, I don't really have like guy friends, honestly. It's like I have like 2 friends, guy friends, and I don't talk about anything with them. Twitch chat is my friend. Relationship superpowers, playful curiosity, open communication. Yeah. Pitfalls, avoiding routine, yeah. Debate overload. Yes. Oh no, $9. Debaters you might know. Weird All. Oh my god. I don't know this guy. Silverman. Edison. Celine. These are all comedians, dude. Comedians and actors. Borat. Jack Sparrow, Lannister. This is ridiculous, dude. Wow. What the fuck? Yeah, I can see all of these people. This is so good. Yo, thank you so much. This was amazing. I'll put this in here. Great. That was cool. Okay. Yeah, that was great. Am I gonna get my Amazon package today? Please? The Amazonian man? Dude, I feel very tired. "65% observant." Yeah, I think observant to be observant is really cool. So you're more of like a background in your head kind of guy. Yeah, I'm just an animal. Because that's how I got raised. And I'm going towards being observant now, I believe. Yeah. In the shadows. I want to play something, but I'm really tired. Might just dip for now. What do I play currently? I have a lot of games that we started playing. We have to finish a bunch of them. Let me see. So I was trying out a bunch. And we have to finish them before we start the next, but so we have to finish Life is Strange, Arise, Tomb Raider, Batman, Undertale, God Eater, The Companion, Devil May Cry, and Red Dead Redemption. Oh no, I started too many games. Tinder doesn't work for me. It's all bots or fakes. Like man. It's either like a bot or man. Never a real person, never. Yeah, I don't know about like romantic relationships, man. It's like I'm still waiting for her to call me, you know. But maybe not. Badu. I'm not doing any dating apps. It's all fakes. Who cares? I got enough bitches in my DMs on Instagram. There is no problem. If I wanted to, I can smash. No, that has never been a problem. The problem was that I could never just, like, besides sometimes I would be an animal, just being a man, I would have to go for it. But besides these occasions, I can just... I talked about it with my therapist today, man. Like, I always have this, like, all or nothing mentality. And that's also gone now. Like, I feel liberated from this. Just recently. Like, I would truly have to love somebody to commit with them and sleep with them. But yeah, there were crazy times for sure where I would just go out for the chase for sure. That was never a problem, you know, for me. I had to go through a lot of failures and rejections. I've done it all. I got laughed at so many times I didn't give a fuck at some point. Like, I'm like full cliche. I went through all of this dating stuff. You know, I'm 6'2". I look like a fucking specimen. The problem is just in my head, you know. Yeah, but that's not, man. It's like you're male, you know. That's how it is. It's just how it is. Empty and unsatisfying. Yeah. Mm. It's complicated, my situation right now. But maybe it's easy. I just have to let go. Like, I was at a point many times where I would have somebody to smash with, and I just didn't want to leave the house. I would say, "Yo, come here." Like, I'm not coming to you because I got so much smashing going on. And I know other people, they would feel like, "What the fuck? Are you crazy?" You know. Left more empty than going in. I mean, man, it's like, it's all about the motivation why you do it in the first place. There is a time and place for everything, and there's many times for when you're a man and growing up and all the testosterone is going crazy. That is something that I just accepted to have to surrender to, of being human, being a man. Nobody can understand it besides a man as well. And if you don't, and you're a man, you're a soy boy. Nah, it's fine. But it's complicated, man. It's like these times when I would just go out for Smash, it wasn't me. You know? It was just not me. And every other time when it was me, it was so complicated. It was all in my head. It's weird. It's like I dissociated and just went with the hormones. But it's always us. Yeah, you know, when you're on drugs for 15 years, you don't know if it's always you. When you're high every day, I'm not so sure. Oh man, I wish I was on drugs. Yeah. I feel really tired. I'm looking through all the games and some of them are speaking to me right now, but I feel like I just want to lay down and watch something. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Thank you so much for keeping me company, man. I believe I have to just have some alone time. I was not sure if I would stream today. It goes like this for a long time. Usually I want to stream every day, you know. It's just there's a lot of stuff happening right now with me and everything. And like it does not it never ends. You know, I have group therapy and therapy every week. And now in starting next week, I'm gonna have 3 therapy sessions in a week for 2 to 3 months because of a shift in therapist. And every time so far, there's like some unraveling, unearthing, some other bullshit, and it just never ends. It's like it's getting exhausted. If I find a solution or an answer to something, and then like 5 more questions pop up, and now I'm gonna be confronted with triple the amount. Like what? So this is ahead of me now for the rest of this month. And I'm just like all that I am about right now is just finishing my, let's give it an order of hierarchy of which is important. Daily finishing the little bit of work that I'm doing for my own business. And then my winter bulk is still going on for 2 weeks. I want to finish strong. That is important to me. And then besides that, it's just monetizing the YouTube channel, trying to learn new stuff, explore new stuff. We're getting into spirituality now. I'm learning new things every day. It's crazy. I have this playlist on YouTube. It's called Mental Health and Relationships. I'm just watching and reacting to a bunch of videos. And this alone is like, if you just check it out, it's so many topics, you know, where I'm just bombarding myself with new information. The people in the group, any relatable case? What do you mean? Wouldn't know. I got never dragged into them. Man, my vision is getting blurry of how tired I am. I really did not sleep good. But we have so many more games ahead, and we're gonna play them all. Yeah. I'm gonna build a routine of watching stuff. Like, we're gonna be streaming the workouts. Like tomorrow, for example, there's gonna be another workout. I stream them Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm gonna keep this routine for all throughout summer and stuff. I'm gonna go into maintenance phase within the next 2 weeks, and then go on a proper cut for summer. I've got a cosplay show coming on in August. I wanna look insane, dude. It's gonna be next level this time. I'm gonna look so insane. I'm gonna buy weight loss drugs. Sadly, I don't have the money for Ozempic, but I'm gonna buy the next best thing. Yeah, that was a insane sentence you said yesterday. But I'm gonna have to have like a more of a routine, and it's also gonna be represented in the streams where I need a day off. I need to implement a day off for sure, because I don't have that yet at all. And if it's only forced, because I like literally hit a wall. And maybe we can do like some sort of like 2 hours of watch something, 2 hours of play. So we stream for 4 hours a day. Sounds reasonable. Currently it's like all random. Whenever I feel lonely, I just hit the stream. Maybe somebody comes along, you know. But there's so much to do. So many things are so interesting. It's a lot of work. Playing games is also a lot of work. I'm not even capping. Yo, man. We come back tomorrow. Tomorrow is gonna be workout stream, and then probably some gaming. Maybe not. Maybe lately I can't even game anymore, like, because I'm so tired. Not only because of the day, but just mentally exhausting, you know. It's like a lot of shit has happened. And I'm gonna go on SSRIs starting, if everything goes okay, starting within the next 2 weeks as well. So you see, I'm I'm in the midst of a lot of shit, you know. I wonder how the SSRIs are gonna impact me. I am putting a lot of hope into them. Because, man, I have these dips. I want to do so many things, and I'm just depressed. Yeah. I played all of my life. Alrighty, man. Thanks for hanging out, man. It was cool that you came by. Oh, before I forget, I think I talked to you yesterday about this. There's this one channel. Here he is, man. This guy. We talked about the role of males in society and what's happening. And this guy, I swear to God, I'm very skeptical and critical and all these kinds of things. I don't just listen to somebody and think, oh, this guy knows everything and like his word to God, or however that is going, right? This guy, after his first video that I watched, man, I fell in love with him. I would follow him to hell and not look back. I swear to God. He has so much wisdom about what's happening, like with the zeitgeist. Video what a female talked about moons and whatnot. Yeah, maybe. But check out this channel, bro. Yeah, I think you're gonna like it. And there's some really good ones. This one, for example, I liked a lot.
Welcome.
Check this out, man. And next time, maybe you can tell me what you think about this one. But this guy has so much insight, dude, I swear. It's like really, really good shit. Some other things are more general and I didn't even watch them. But some are just, holy moly, like he knows what he's talking about. And he speaks from my soul. It's crazy. But yeah. this should be it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Anybody who's still here watching, we are streaming, of course, on Kick and YouTube at the same time. I want to start streaming on TikTok again, but TikTok is making me go crazy, dude, with their spy software that they make me use to stream. Alrighty. I'll see you next time. GG, thank you. Bye.